A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all old-time radio.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Command the children of Israel that they bring unto thee pure oil olive beaten for the light, to cause the lamps to burn continually in the tabernacle of the congregation, and it shall be a statute forever in your generations.
The Eternal Light. The National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations present The Eternal Light, a program which comes to you under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. Our program today, The Golden Watch, was written by Mortimer Frankel and is based on the book of the same name by Dr. M. Yoeli, published by the United Synagogue Commission on Jewish Education.
Sometimes the things that happen in men's lives form a pattern quickly and easily discerned. Sometimes the pattern is a larger one and encompasses many years or generations. But the pattern is always there, no matter how long it may take to unfold. Broad indeed is the tapestry into which is woven the story of the Golden Watch. It is the Sabbath day in the home of Dr. David Karnoff in the city of Jerusalem. The Sabbath calm is broken by a babble of contending voices.
You're kidding.
I really mean it.
They are young voices, earnest with pride and eagerness and curiosity.
But I'm telling you, this watch is different. It's terrific.
You and your watch. You ought to see my daddy's watch.
My mommy has a gold watch that's made of gold, and it's so good it doesn't even look like gold. You never saw a watch like this one. Just wait till you see this one.
Listen to him. Why, he doesn't even know.
Well, what's the big argument, Sounds like a debate in the Knesset, at least.
Daddy, can I show them the gold watch? I wanted to see what a different watch it is.
He says it's the greatest in the world, Dr. Karnoff. Well, is it? Honest?
Well, now, I don't know about that. But I do think it's a little bit special. Suppose we have a look at it and see what you think,
Boy, just wait till you see this.
Just step over here to the corner with me. You see, we keep it in a little closet with glass doors. That's the way it's always been kept. And I have the key right here. Now, you mustn't touch it. You can look at it to your heart's content. But it's very old and precious. So I'm going to ask you, please, not to touch it. Okay?
Okay, Dr. Karnoff.
Hey, look at the size of it.
That's about 50 times bigger than my mommy's watch.
Yes, they don't make them as big as this anymore. Even the biggest ones.
And how do you like that cover, huh? The way it opens up, just like a little door.
Hey, that's something. Look at the two little tiny keys hanging down.
Would you like to listen to it, children? It has a very special kind of tick.
Boy, I never heard a watch like that before. My daddy's watch hardly ticks at all.
Say, Daddy, what are those letters on the back? It looks like A.T.
Yes, those are the initials of the watchmaker. His name was Antoine Titon.
That's a funny name.
Well, it's different. Antoine Titon lived in Paris. And he made this watch a very long time ago.
How long? About 10 years?
Oh, no. Much longer than that.
10 years isn't long, silly. Bet it was about 20 years ago, huh?
Longer than that even. This watch was made by Antoine Titon of Paris at least 175 years ago.
175 years? Wow.
How did we get it, Daddy? Tell us about the watch. Huh? Please, Daddy.
Would you like to hear the story of the Golden Watch, children?
Yeah, You bet.
Oh, tell us, please, Dr. Carno.
All right, but first, excuse me a moment. You see, it's quite a story, and it'll take a little time to tell it. So perhaps we'd better have some cookies to help us concentrate.
The story Dr. Carnoff told them is more than the story of a watch. It is a story involving the goodness and faith to be found in the heart of many men, and the evil sometimes found in others, and the justice of a God who, as a poet once reminded us, fulfills himself in many ways. It begins in the city of Paris, in the shop of a famous jeweler named Antoine Titon, more than 175 years ago.
My, what a fascinating place you have here, monsieur.
Your Royal Highness's presence adds much luster to it.
Ah, you know me then.
Surely a Parisian jeweler knows the royalty of his own land. You are His Highness Prince Baudouin, and behold me, your humble servant.
Quite so. Monsieur Titon, I am about to undertake a journey to the Holy Land, and I thought to take with me some little memento that I could look upon often and be reminded of my native country.
A splendid thought, your Highness. Perhaps a ring or an amulet? I have here a most unusual locket.
No. I think perhaps something more useful, something I would have occasion to look at frequently. Tell me, what is that watch in the case behind you?
This? Oh, this is one of my proudest pieces. I made it not long ago with my own hands. See, it is altogether unique, is it not?
Let me examine it, please. Ah, it is very beautiful. You are to be complimented on your artistry, monsieur.
Your Highness is most gracious. But for a mere keepsake, I am afraid it would prove rather costly.
I am not interested in the price, Titon. Send the bill to my overseer. Ah, what an enchanting watch.
On his journey to the Holy Land of Israel, Prince Baudouin met a royal traveler from another land, Prince Radziwill of Lithuania. They became fast friends, and at the end of the trip, when they were about to part, Prince Baudouin gave the watch as a gift to Radziwill. Prince Radziwill cherished the watch, and as the years and generations went by, it passed to his grandson who bore his name. Now, it happened that there lived in Lithuania, in a little house by the river Nemon, not far from the prince's palace, a poor fisherman by the name of Eliezer Carno. He was a humble man, but a great one, and his many kindnesses made him loved by everyone in the countryside about, both by his fellow Jews and by those who were not. One day, Eliezer Carnoff went down to the river to put out in his boat to attend to the day's fishing.
Oh, how still the water is after last night's storm. The fish ought to bite well on a day like this. Now, let's see. The oars, the bait, What's this? She's full of water. A hole in the bottom. Must have dashed against a rock in the storm.
Hi, fisherman! What are you doing standing around in that boat?
He's waiting for the fish to jump in.
The boat has a bad leak, Your Highness. I won't be able to take it out until I've repaired it.
Oh, it's you, Eliezer.
Yes.
Well, come, man. Don't tell me you're afraid of a little water.
Oh, it isn't that. There's a hole in the stern. If I take her out, she'll fill up and sink.
Nonsense. What kind of a sailor are you? Here, Vladimir.
Huh?
Hold my horse and I'll jump in and have a look at this thing.
I wouldn't get into that boat, Prince. One man on a broken boat is enough.
Please, Your Highness, he's right. The water here by the shore is deep. If she sank, we'd all be in trouble.
How you worry, Eliezer, and on such a fine day. Move over. I'm getting in to see what's what.
Oh, Your Highness. Pray, be careful.
Yes. I will. It's giving way!
No. Jump out, Prince. She's going down. Jump! Look at him. He's going under. He can't swim. What do we do? I can't swim a stroke. Neither can I. Help him, Eliezer. Save him.
Eliezer!
Oh.
Help me!
It's all right, Your Highness. Here, get up on my back. Here. That's good. Now, hold on to my shoulder with all your might. Keep your head up high and your lips closed tightly. We'll be ashore in no time.
Prince, are you all right?
He's only half conscious, but he's breathing regularly.
I would suggest you get him home, sir, as soon as possible. Wrap him in warm blankets and give him something hot to drink, and he'll soon be as well as ever.
Yes. Come, Vladimir.
Right.
Let's put him across my saddle.
Careful.
Help us lift him, Eliezer. Easy.
I'll lead his horse.
Yeah.
Come, let's get started. Oh, goodbye, Eliezer. And thank you. I'm sure the prince will remember you.
Oh, that doesn't matter, sir. May he recover soon. Now, let's see. I'd better get busy and raise the poor old boat. And then I'll have to... Hey, what's this? A watch. A beautiful gold watch. It must have fallen out of the prince's pocket. I'd better take it into the house and dry it well before I return it to him.
You're dressed up in your Sabbath clothes, Father? Today isn't the Sabbath, is it?
No, but I must go to the prince's palace. I have something that belongs to him. You see this?
A gold watch.
Yeah.
Let me see it.
Oh, what a wonderful watch.
Where'd you get it, Father?
It fell out of the prince's pocket yesterday when we saved him from the river.
Why haven't you got a beautiful watch like that, Father? I wish you had one just like it.
Never mind, my child. God gave me many other good things. Come, let me take it to the prince.
Come forward, Eliezer. Come, don't be shy. What is your errand?
I merely came to tell your Highness...
I know. You saved my life yesterday. I have not forgotten it. Now tell me, what is your wish?
Forgive me, Your Highness. But it is God in heaven who saves men's lives. I only saved this watch that fell from your clothing on the shore. I came to return it to you.
Let me see. You know, Eliezer, my grandfather gave me this watch. He treasured it highly. And now I'm going to give it to you as a token of my gratitude. And it shall belong to you and your children after you.
Your Highness is very kind.
And that isn't all I'm going to do for you, Eliezer. Arbanius.
Did my lord the prince call?
Take your book and pen, Arbanius, and write down these words. I, Radziwill, Prince of Lithuania, give this day to Eleazar Karnov, the Jew, and to his sons after him, as a gift eternal, 100 acres of land from the river Naiman to the forest Vilki, and all which is in them, the fields, the forest, and the houses.
Eliezer became a rich man, but he continued to live in his little house by the river Naiman and to labor each day as a fisherman. But Eliezer had a good heart, and he used his money to benefit others. He gave gifts to the poor and helped the students at the nearby academy, until his fame as a benefactor had spread to the cities all about. In his own little village, he built a small but beautiful synagogue, and the great Rabbi Isaac Elchanan came to dedicate it on the eve of Shavuos. Eliezer also invited Prince Radziwill, who came to the synagogue and to the dedication feast which followed, sitting beside the rabbi at the head of Eliezer's table. Rabbi Isaac Elchanan rose up and offered a prayer of thanksgiving.
In every generation, God has performed miracles for our forefathers. Even in our generation, He has performed miracles for us. Blessed be God who has given power into the hands of Eliezer to save the priests. Blessed be the prince for the goodness of his heart. And blessed be Eliezer who has built so noble a synagogue. And may the Holy One, blessed be He, perform that great miracle for which we wait and pray. May He return the homeless of our people to the Holy Land.
Year followed year. Eliezer the fisherman lived out his days to the fulfillment of a rich and useful life, and then passed on. But the wonderful gold watch still ticked off the hours, the days, and the years, nestling in a little closet of glass in the house of Karnoff. It is the year 1914, and all the great countries of Europe are locked in a vast and terrible war. Michael, youngest son of the Karnoff family, has been called to fight in the service of the Tsar who rules over Lithuania. His mother, with a heavy heart, bids him goodbye.
It's time to start, Mother. The driver is waiting.
I know, Michael. Here's your bag. I've packed everything you will need, your clothing, your tallis and tefillin, some food for the journey.
Goodbye, Mother.
Wait, Michael. Here. I want you to take this with you.
The watch?
Yes. The gold watch of Prince Radziwill. It's a gift to you from your father. Blessed be his memory. Keep the watch with you always, Michael. And may God protect you from all evil and return you home in peace.
It will never leave my hands. Goodbye, Mother.
Goodbye, my son. Goodbye.
All right. Stay where you are, everybody, till the barrage lets up. And watch those snipers in the woods over there. You, Connor, keep down. Corman, help this fellow.
Two years have passed. It is spring. Passover is here, the night of the first Seder. The war is not over yet, but Michael's family has received joyful news. A letter saying that he has been discharged and will be home this very day. But they are still waiting.
Come, Mother, sit down and rest. You've been at that door 20 times in the last hour.
But why doesn't he come? He wrote that he'd be here today, and it's already getting dark.
He'll come. Something must have delayed him.
That's right. Maybe he's coming by the way of the forest instead of the river. It's a long path through the forest.
Yes, I suppose so. Come, children, it's time for the Seder. We'll begin reading the Haggadah, and maybe Michael will come before it's time to start the meal. Sit down, everyone.
Quiet, everyone. Behold, this is the bread of affliction our fathers ate in the land of Egypt. Let all who are hungry come in to eat. Let all in want come to observe Pekah. This year here, next year in Israel, this year as subjects, next year as free men.
Michael!
Hello, Mother.
Oh, Michael, my boy, you're home.
It was during a night attack on the edge of a forest. This was nearly 2 years ago, mind you. My company was moving out of the woods when the Germans started dropping flares all around us. Well, they caught us flat-footed. One of their snipers must have liked my looks, and he let go. The bullet would have gone right through my chest, but look what happened.
The watch chain.
The link, it's all bent.
That's right. The nose of the bullet went right into this link and stayed there. Of course, I got a wound, but it didn't amount to much. The good old watch you gave me to take along, Mother. It saved my life.
Oh, God be praised. Weren't these the words of the Rabbi Isaac Elchanan on the day of the dedication of the synagogue? In every generation, God has performed miracles for our forefathers. Even in our generation, He performs miracles for us. Blessed be the name of God.
ended. But the hate in men's hearts did not. And while Michael Carnoff grew old, a new generation came up. And a man ridden by the disease of ambition and violence slowly built his evil power. Now Michael Carnoff, a grandfather, sits outside the ancestral home while two of his grandchildren play about him. A new, more terrible war has begun. The children's father, Joseph, has died in it, and their mother, too, is gone. Old Michael has two other grandchildren, whom he has never seen. The children of another son, David, who went years ago to live in the land of Israel. Now it is June 1941, and a strange sight appears in the sky above this little, out-of-the-way village.
What are those great big birds up there in the heavens, Grandfather? And that big noise, what is it?
Quickly, children. Into the house. Hurry. Come with me to the cellar.
The big birds went away, but they did not leave peace in the village.
Who is in there? Come out, you hear? All of you, come out. You. What's your name?
Michael Carnoff.
You're a Jew?
Yes, I am a Jew.
Outside. Bowerman. Search the cellar. Out them out.
Please, sir. Oh. The children. They are so young.
Quiet! That will teach you to keep your mouth shut. Now get outside in front of the house.
These are all here, Lieutenant. The old woman and the two children.
Grandpa, don't let them hurt us.
We are in God's hands, my child.
Shut up. Quiet. Form a line, Jews, over here. That's it. Now, ready? Wait a minute. There's something heavy in your pocket, old man. Let's see what it is. Well, a watch. A very nice gold watch. I will accept it as a gift from you.
May God deal with our murderers.
All right, let's get it over with. Ready?
Hear, O Israel.
Hear, O Israel.
Fire!
Yes, it was the most terrible of all wars. Millions fell on the field of battle. Millions more were dragged from their homes and died at the hands of the Nazis. On the sand of the African desert, close to the Mideastern battlefront, stood a British Army hospital. Back to it from the fighting came the wounded of many nations, England, Australia, Canada, and some Jews from the land of Israel. Some enemy wounded came too, those that had been taken prisoner. It had been a hard day for the doctors. The fighting had been heavy. One of the surgeons, named Dr. Carnoff, had already performed several operations. But for him, the day's work was not over yet.
Dr. Carnoff.
Yes, sir?
Got a pretty bad one here. That's the officer, the colonel. Will you take him on?
Oh, of course, sir.
He's got a shell fragment near his heart and a bad head wound. Afraid he hasn't much of a chance.
I'll do my best, sir.
I know you will. All right, lads, put him on the table. Sorry to give you this one, Carnoff. I'd take him myself, but I've got one waiting for me.
Oh, it's quite all right, Major. Nurse?
Yes.
Plasma, quick. Looks as if he's been hemorrhaging a long time. Prepare him for anesthetic while I wash.
Yes, Doctor.
Oh, wait a minute. Where did this come from, nurse?
The watch? It was on the stretcher among his effects, sir.
Why, this is amazing.
What is, Carnoff?
This watch. Remember the one I was telling you about, sir? The family heirloom?
Yes. Don't tell me that's it.
I couldn't be mistaken. I spent hours looking at it when I was a child. See, there are the maker's initials, A.T. Antoine Titon.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the bent link that stopped a bullet when my grandfather wore it in the First War.
Yes, it must be the one. Astonishing.
Poor grandfather.
Well, that tells me all I need to know about what happened to him. And the rest of the family, too, I suppose.
You mean this fellow must have...
Either that or he got it from one of his men who did it.
No doubt. But perhaps this isn't the operation for you after all, Colonel.
I don't see how I can do it, sir.
I'll assign Davidson to my case and take this fellow myself. Hurry along with the plasma, nurse.
Doctor, his pulse. I can't detect anything.
Now, let's see. You're right, nurse. It stopped.
Here, let me check his heart. No, there's nothing. I knew right off he was washed up. He'd certainly have died under the knife. You'd better take the watch, Dr. Karnoff. I'll vouch for it as your property stolen by the Nazis.
The heart of a Nazi has stopped beating. But the Karnoff watch still ticks on.
Old Eleazar Karnoff's watch now rests again in a little closet with doors of glass, in the house of Karnoff in the land of Israel. And there, God willing, it will remain forevermore.
If you would like a copy of today's script, please send your name and address with 10 cents to cover the cost of postage and handling to the Jewish Theological Seminary of America, 3080 Broadway, New York 27, New York. Ladies and gentlemen, we invite you to listen next week to the first in the Eternal Light Summer Series, Words We Live By, which will feature Maurice Samuel and Mark Van Doren in a series of conversations about the wisdom books of the Bible. Eternal Light drama today, The Golden Watch, was written by Mortimer Frankel and was based on the book of the same name by Dr. M. Yoeli, published by the United Synagogue Commission on Jewish Education. Cantor Robert Siegel sang the liturgical introduction. Featured in the cast were Sam Gray, Brett Morrison, Leon Janney, Bill Mason, Beatrice Miller, Guy Repp, and Stefan Schnabel. The narrator was Norman Rose. This is Mel Brandt. Our program was directed by Daniel Sutter. This weekly program is presented under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. This is the NBC Radio Network.
The Words We Live By. The National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations present The Words We Live By, the summer series of the Eternal Light program, which comes to you under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. These broadcasts present two of America's foremost men of letters, Maurice Samuel and Mark Van Doren, in a series of literary dialogues on the wisdom books of the Bible.
Mark, until now, we've been talking the wisdom books and latterly the book of Job, and I don't think that at any point we've given the text itself enough play. Now we've reached something in the book of Job where it would be well, I think, for us to let the text speak for itself, all the more as this is not only the climax of the book of Job, it's one of the climactic passages in the whole of the Tanakh, and it is God himself speaking direct to Job himself. God himself speaking to the man who has been protesting, complaining, challenging, and demanding of God that he give him some kind of answer. Let's read it. You begin the passage.
You want me to begin? All right. Then the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind, and said, Who is this that darkeneth counsel by words without knowledge? Gird up now thy loins like a man, for I will demand of thee, and declare thou unto me.
Where wast thou when I laid the foundations of the earth? Declare if thou hast understanding. Who determined the measures thereof, if thou knowest? Or who stretched the line upon it? Whereupon were the foundations thereof fastened? Or who laid the cornerstone thereof, when the morning stars sang together, and all the sons of God shouted for joy?
Or who shut up the sea with doors, when it broke forth and issued out of the womb? When I made the cloud the garment thereof, and thick darkness a swaddling band for it, and prescribed for it my decree, and set bars and doors, and said, Thus far shalt thou come, but no further, and here shall thy proud waves be stayed.
Hast thou commanded the morning since thy days began, and caused the day spring to know its place, that it might take hold of the ends of the earth, and the wicked be shaken out of it? It is changed as clay under the seal, and they stand as a garment. But from the wicked their light is withholden, and the high arm is broken. Wait, Mark, I just can't help breaking in here. Look at the extraordinary shift of interest. One is the morning star singing for joy, the whole of the universe, and then he comes down to the most homely and the most intimate little human experience, changed like clay under the seal. On the one side, the cosmos; on the other side, the man's finger and the ring of the seal when he presses down into the clay.
And that, for me, is the final sign that this is great poetry, because great poetry is always moving in and out between big and little.
Yes, now go on.
Hast thou entered into the springs of the sea, or hast thou walked in the recesses of the deep? Have the gates of death been revealed unto thee, or hast thou seen the gates of the shadow of death? Hast thou surveyed under the breadth of the earth? Declare if thou knowest it all.
Where is the way to the dwelling of light? And as for darkness, where is the place thereof? That thou shouldst take it to the bound thereof, and that thou shouldst know the path to the house thereof. Thou knowest it, for thou wast then born, and the number of thy days is great.
Hast thou entered the treasuries of the snow, or hast thou seen the treasuries of the hail, which I have reserved against the time of trouble, against the day of battle and war?
By what way is the light parted, or the east wind scattered upon the earth? Who hath cleft the channel for the water flood, or a way for the lightning of the thunder, to cause it to rain on a land where no man is, on the wilderness wherein there is no man, to satisfy the desolate and waste ground, and to cause the bud of the tender herb to spring forth? Hath the rain a father? Or who hath begotten the drops of dew? Out of whose womb came the ice, and the hoarfrost of heaven? Who hath gendered it? The waters are congealed like stone, and the face of the deep is frozen. Look, Mark, what is being pointed out here is something that we so frequently forget, that the world goes on even where we are not.
That's right.
In the desolate places, the rain is falling when we are not watching. The sea is running when we are not on it. And the marvel of the inorganic is just as great as the marvel of the organic. I've forgotten now who it is that pointed out there's just as much of the miraculous in the repetition of the crystals of a snowflake as there is in the mystery of the cell with its living content.
Yes, as a man said in a movie I saw not long ago, he picked up a little stone, just a little pebble, and he said to someone, if this is not great, nothing is. And now the reference is to great things indeed. Canst thou bind the chains of the Pleiades, or loose the bands of Orion? Canst thou lead forth the Mazzaroth in their season? Or canst thou guide the bear with her sons? Knowest thou the ordinances of the heavens? Canst thou establish the dominion thereof in the earth? Canst thou lift up thy voice to the clouds, that abundance of waters may cover thee? Canst thou send forth lightnings, that they may go, and say unto thee, Here we are?
Who hath put wisdom in the inward parts? Or who hath given understanding to the mind? Who can number the clouds by wisdom? Or who can pour out the bottles of heaven when the dust runneth into a mass, and the clods cleave fast together?
Wilt thou hunt the prey for the lioness, or satisfy the appetite of the young lions when they couch in their dens and abide in the covert to lie in wait?
Who provideth for the raven his prey when his young ones cry unto God and wander for lack of food?
Knowest thou the time when the wild goats of the rock bring forth, or canst thou mark when the hinds do calve? Canst thou number the months that they fulfill, or knowest thou the time when they bring forth? They bow themselves, they bring forth their young, they cast out their fruit. Their young ones wax strong, they grow up in the open field. They go forth and return not again.
Who hath sent out the wild ass free? Or who hath loosed the bands of the wild ass? Whose house I have made the wilderness, and the salt land his dwelling place. He scorneth the tumult of the city, neither heareth he the shoutings of the driver. The range of the mountains is his pasture, and he searcheth after every green thing.
Will the wild ox be willing to serve thee, or will he abide by thy crib? Canst thou bind the wild ox with his band in the furrow, or will he harrow the valleys after thee? Wilt thou trust him because his strength is great, or wilt thou leave thy labor to him? Wilt thou rely on him that he will bring home thy seed, or gather the corn of thy threshing floor?
The wing of the ostrich beateth joyously, but are her pinions and feathers the kindly stalks? For she leaveth her eggs on the earth, and warmeth them in the dust, and forgetteth that the foot may crush them, or that the wild beast may trample them. She is hardened against her young ones, as if they were not hers. Though her labor be in vain, she is without fear, because God hath deprived her of wisdom. Neither hath he imparted to her understanding. When the time cometh, she raiseth her wings on high, and scorneth the horse and his rider.
Now, Maurice, there comes a passage which I think is unexcelled, and the word horse in the last line that you read introduces it. Hast thou given the horse his strength? Hast thou clothed his neck with fierceness? Hast thou made him to leap as a locust? The glory of his snorting is terrible. He paweth in the valley, and rejoiceth in his strength. He goeth out to meet the clash of arms. He mocketh at fear, and is not affrighted. Neither turneth he back from the sword. The quiver rattleth upon him, the glittering spear and the javelin. He swalloweth the ground with storm and rage. Neither believeth he that it is the voice of the horn. As oft as he heareth the horn, he saith, Ha, ha! And he smelleth the battle afar off, the thunder of the captains and the shouting.
Yes.
You can't beat that.
No, one can't read it either without feeling one's scalp tingle.
That's right.
I ask myself, what equivalent have we got in modern utterance for the so-called superiority of our means? The horse is no longer the battle steed. The horse is disappearing from life in general. I remember a phrase that Zangwill once used when he was in this country. He said he felt as lonely as a horse in New York.
Yes.
We don't see horses anymore.
Well, the cavalry is now tanks.
The cavalry consists of tanks, and of course it's superior as a means of killing people. But what have we got in the way of utterance which will make us feel the... it sounds silly to say the glory of the tank, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or the magnificence of the jet plane. We've got these things. We haven't got the appreciation or the feeling for them. I don't think we've even got the sense of speed out of these things. I know that for me, the sense of speed is always associated with galloping on a horse. When I was younger and used to go horseback riding, if I got the horse up to a full gallop, I felt that I was going at a terrific speed. Now I've flown in planes, and with a tailwind, I've been going at 400 miles an hour, and the sense of speed wasn't there at all.
Yes, coming home from San Francisco the other day to New York on a plane, my wife and I noted that we crossed Illinois in 29 minutes, which is, of course, an outrage.
Yes. Well, I must throw in this word. This whole business of the mechanization of life is in one way epitomized in traveling. You know, one doesn't travel by plane at all. One is shipped like a parcel.
Quite right. Well, now...
Let's go back to the wonder of life in the primitive. Let's read again.
All right, now it's your turn.
Doth the hawk soar by thy wisdom and stretch her wings toward the south? Doth the vulture mount up at thy command, and make her nest on high? She dwelleth and abideth on the rock, upon the crag of the rock and the stronghold, from whence she spieth out the prey. Her eyes behold it afar off. Her young ones also suck up blood, and where the slain are, there is she.
Now, in a sense, the narrative returns, but only for a second. Moreover, the Lord had answered Job and said, Shall he that reproveth contend with the Almighty? He that argueth with God, let him answer it.
Then Job answered the Lord and said, Behold, I am of small account. What shall I answer thee? I lay my hand upon my mouth. Once have I spoken, but I will not answer again. Yea, twice, but I will proceed no more.
Then the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind and said, Gird up thy loins now like a man. I will demand of thee, and declare thou unto me. Wilt thou even make void my judgment? Wilt thou condemn me, that thou mayest be justified? Or hast thou an arm like God? And canst thou thunder with a voice like him? Deck thyself now with majesty and excellency, and array thyself with glory and beauty. Cast abroad the rage of thy wrath, and look upon every one that is proud, and abase him. Look on every one that is proud, and bring him low, and tread down the wicked in their place. Hide them in the dust together, bind their faces in the hidden place. Then will I also confess unto thee, that thine own right hand can save thee.
Behold now Behemoth, which I made with thee. He eateth grass as an ox. Lo now, his strength is in his loins, and his force is in the stays of his body. He straineth his tail like a cedar. The sinews of his thighs are knit together. His bones are as pipes of brass. His gristles are like bars of iron. He is the beginning of the ways of God. He only that made him can make his sword to approach unto him. Surely the mountains bring him forth, and all the beasts of the field play there. He lieth under the lotus trees, in the covert of the reed and fens. The lotus trees cover him with their shadow. The willows of the brook compass him about. Behold, if a river overflow, he trembleth not. He is confident, though the Jordan rush forth to his mouth. Shall any take him by his eyes, or pierce through his nose with a snare?
And, of course, Behemoth is probably the hippopotamus, is it not? Do you understand that?
Yes, that's how I take it, although the word behemoth in Hebrew is now connected with animals at large, and I suppose it would mean that this is the animal par excellence. This is the great animal world.
Well, this is the great animal of the land, and now comes the great animal of the waters. Here's Moby Dick. Canst thou draw out Leviathan with a fishhook, or press down his tongue with a cord? Canst thou put a ring into his nose, or bore his jaw through with a hook? Will he make many supplications unto thee, or will he speak soft words unto thee? Will he make a covenant with thee, that thou shouldst take him for a servant forever? Wilt thou play with him as with a bird, or wilt thou bind him for thy maidens? Will the bands of fishermen make a banquet of him? Will they part him among the merchants? Canst thou fill his skin with barbed irons, or his head with fish spears? Lay thy hand upon him. Think upon the battle. Thou wilt do so no more.
That's a tremendous passage. But it brings me back again to that question, that glib question that people can put in connection with this passage. Yes, I can do these things. We've done these things. Now, you mentioned Moby Dick before. Well, they did play with him as with a bird, and they did fill his skin with barbed irons and his head with fish spears. But that isn't the point at all, is it?
Well, the point of Moby Dick, after all, is that no man can conquer this huge creature. Melville wrote a book somewhat comparable to this one, I think. In the tribute, it knows how to pay to the immensity of nature.
Yes, then let's carry it further.
An inconceivable force of the world.
Let's carry it further and say, well, nowadays we have the modern type of harpoon out of a machine, and all that is outlived, and so that these questions are really irrelevant. We've been able to conquer everything.
Now, Maurice, I wonder if we haven't read enough of this passage to render it forth. There are more references to things that Job could not have made and Job cannot control. But I suspect it might be well to go on to the conclusion of the whole matter. Do you agree?
Right. Behold, the hope of him is in vain. Shall not one be cast down even at the sight of him? None is so fierce that dares stir him up. Who then is able to stand before me, who have given me anything beforehand that I should repay him? Whatsoever is under the whole heaven is mine. Would I keep silence concerning his boastings, or his proud talks, or his fair array of words?
And then there is another such passage, beginning, who can uncover the face of his garment? Who shall come within his double bridle? But I should like to go on now, because it would be a pity not to give full value to the very end of the book, to the final answer that Job makes, and then to the narrator's statement as to what the whole thing meant at last in the mind of God. After all this has been done, and after Job is, as it were, crushed under this rhetoric, we hear, then Job answered the Lord and said, I know that thou canst do everything, and that no purpose can be withholden from thee. Who is this that hideth counsel without knowledge? Therefore have I uttered that which I understood not, things too wonderful for me, which I knew not. Hear, I beseech thee, and I will speak. I will demand of thee, and declare thou unto me. I had heard of thee by the hearing of the ear, but now mine eye seeth thee. Wherefore I abhor my words, and repent, seeing I am dust and ashes. Now that's interesting, because although there is humility in it, it is the humility of a great and proud person who had maintained his integrity. It is as if he had said all along to his friends, God is greater than you know. And now God has spoken and proved that he was greater than any man can know, even Job, whose conception of his greatness so much surpassed that of his friends. Now here is the final, utterly overwhelming and crushing statement.
Before we go on to the narrative, Mark, look at this passage. It says, I have heard of thee by the hearing of the ear, but now mine eye seeth thee. What does he mean there?
I suspect not much more, or maybe I'm wrong, not much more than what we mean when we say I see and signify I understand.
Now I've got it.
Now I understand.
Yes.
You see,
yes.
We use the word see, don't we, in at least two senses. I see with my eyes, I see with my mind.
Yes. Yes, well, it occurs to me just now, we use the word see in the sense of the most intimate form of cognition, because in almost every language people say seeing is believing. They don't say hearing is believing, or smelling is believing, or touching is believing. Seeing is believing. Here in this case, I think it's being reversed, and Job says believing is seeing. Mm-hmm. This is the insight which he got.
By the word, you just used the word insight.
That's right.
There it is again.
It's automatic, practically.
Yes, but insight suggests seeing with the intellect, does it not?
Yes. We have to take it, I suppose, that when God spoke out of the whirlwind to Job, his friends could hear the voice too. We have to assume that they...
Well, I hope so.
Yes.
It would be terrible, wouldn't it? If they,
yes.
Although maybe they couldn't have... Maybe they didn't deserve to hear it. I don't know.
Well, apparently not, because here we find the denouement of the story. And it was so that after the Lord had spoken these words unto Job, the Lord said to Eliphaz the Temanite, My wrath is kindled against thee and against thy two friends, for ye have not spoken of me the thing that is right, as my servant Job hath. Now, Mark, this is an extraordinary thing, isn't it?
Oh, it's wonderful.
Yes. He's telling these people who've been defending him all the time, they're the ones who've been doing... Well, you know what they've been doing for God? They've been making propaganda.
Exactly.
Now...
They have condescended to God.
Yes, they've done him a good turn. They've defended him against Job's aspersions, and what they get for it in the end is the rebuke, you have not spoken of me the thing that is right. And notice, by the way, there was a young fellow who came into the story, Elihu the Buzite, who had a lot to say about Job, repeating and rehearsing what the three others said. He's ignored completely. Job doesn't answer him, God doesn't answer him, and he might just as well have, what do we say nowadays? He might just as well have stood in bed.
Well, you know, I used to think, when I read the book more carelessly than I think I do now, that Elihu extended the remarks of the other friends. He doesn't, does he really?
No.
He doesn't even take them as far.
No, he's a young fellow who's very impatient. He thinks that the old fellows haven't put the case properly. He'll show them. And the result is he's snubbed. He hasn't even sinned like the others. He's just ignored out of existence.
But think what a jolt it must have been for the friends to hear God say, these friends who thought that Job had spoken the utmost blasphemy, to hear God say, my servant Job hath spoken right. He has said the thing that is right.
And God goes on to say to Eliphaz, now therefore take unto you 7 bullocks and 7 rams, and go to my servant Job, and offer up for yourselves a burnt offering, and my servant Job shall pray for you. For him will I accept, and I do not unto you aught unseemly. For ye have not spoken of me the thing that is right, as my servant Job hath. And so one asks, what specifically was it that Job said about God that was right? And I think the answer is what you've implied, Mark. Not any specific statement, but the attitude that inasmuch as you have made me, I am not an unworthy thing. Inasmuch as I represent you and am part of you, I commune with you and ask you, and you have answered me.
Yes, because think what Job had done. His friends had said, if you understand God, you will love him. Job says, I do not understand God, and still I love him. He is destroying me. You say that God can help us and make us. I say that God is giving me the opposite of help. Indeed, he seems to be trying to destroy him, and yet I love him, and yet I believe in him. I believe in him without any evidence. You insisted that there should be evidence. I'm not that kind of bargainer. I will not flatter God. As a matter of fact, I suspect that God's final love of Job is based upon the supreme fact that Job had refused to flatter him.
Well, this is one of the beauties of this book. It's such a complete repudiation of what is very frequently said about the attitude toward God in the Bible generally, the complete prostration of man before him as before an oriental monarch, the crushing of the individual, the extravagant, the tasteless, continuous praise. And here it is made evident that this is not the attitude of the Bible, but that what we call a manly honesty and confrontation is what is intended.
Yes,
but let me ask...
God might have said, I made you in my image, and I want you to be as great as you can. Gird up thy loins like a man. Be a man, and I mean by that, be as near like me as you can.
Tell me, Mark, what do you make of the ending of the book of Job when we read, so the Lord blessed the latter end of Job more than his beginning, and he had 14,000 sheep and 6,000 camels and 1,000 yoke of oxen and 1,000 she-asses. He also had 7 sons and 3 daughters. They were given the names of them. And in all the land were no women found so fair as the daughters of Job. And their father gave them inheritance among their brethren. After this, Job lived 140 years and saw his sons and his sons' sons, even 4 generations. So Job died being old and full of days. Now, is that tacked on? Like people say that this was tacked on just to make it come out right. What is your feeling about that ending to the story?
I think it's quite right. It's one of those happy endings that I must confess I have a weakness for. Job had submitted himself to a test such as no man, I think, ever before has had to submit himself to. He came through it, it seems to me, with glory. And it isn't as if God now thinks that this is his proper reward. His proper reward is somewhere else altogether, I dare say. It's in the immortality that he has among us. It's in the fact that we can never forget him. But, just incidentally, God is willing that he end his days comfortably. I don't think this is his proper reward, but it's the reward that the world might recognize.
Well, then, in other words, you think we might take it as a symbol of the real reward?
Oh, I think so.
That we use this terminology of the earthly, the possessive, the luxurious, or at any rate the opulent, merely to indicate through the tangible that which is intangible. And we don't have to take it in the most literal sense. The point is that a man who has come to terms with God, has seen him, has spoken with him, has received this illumination, it is as if this had happened to him in the end.
Yes, the story ends as it began. Remember, the story began with Job having many animals and many children and many possessions. It begins also with God speaking in a certain way about him to Satan. Satan, by the way, is forgotten at the end.
Yes,
he's just out of the picture.
Isn't that a curious thing? In a way, I'm sorry. You remember how Goethe uses the same theme at the beginning of the Faust. He makes Mephistopheles appear in heaven, and the Job story is rehearsed. But Goethe can't resist in the second Faust, when Faust is saved, he can't resist showing us Mephistopheles baffled and reeling back and saying, I've been had.
Yes, maybe it's so. Maybe Satan could have been tucked in here somehow, but I'm I'm quite content to think of him as being utterly discomfited. He's been forgotten.
It's a forgiving attitude. Let's not gloat over him. The poor creature, I was going to say the poor man, but he isn't exactly that. The poor creature did what he could, and we hope that somewhere in the spaces he is meditating on his own impotence.
And meanwhile, with this ending, the whole work has been rounded off and becomes a perfect work of art. Just as it had a quiet beginning, so it has a quiet end.
You have just heard The Words We Live By, the ninth in the Eternal Light Summer Series. Be with us again next week when Maurice Samuel and Mark Van Doren will resume their discussion of the wisdom books of the Bible. We Live By is presented by the National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations, and is produced under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. This is the NBC Radio Network.
This is the NBC Radio Network.
The Words We Live By. The National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations present The Words We Live By, the summer series of the Eternal Light program, which comes to you under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. These broadcasts present two of America's foremost men of letters, Maurice Samuel and Mark Van Doren, in a series of literary dialogues on the wisdom books of the Bible.
Mark, this is the last of our talks this summer, this fifth summer of our consultations, if you like, on each other's views about the Bible. And in this review of the wisdom books, we've mounted, as it were, from the worldliness of the book of Proverbs to the philosophic level of Ecclesiastes, and then plunged into what I suppose we must call the unclassifiable beauty and depth and significance of the book of Job. And before we say farewell to each other for this year, I think we ought to go over these three books again in a general way, because although Job does stand away from the other two, the three do somehow hang together. They hang together, among other things, in a technique which I haven't been able to observe in any other group of books in the Bible, and that is in the ending. Last week we were talking about the happy ending to the book of Job. It would have been intolerable if the book of Job ended on a gloomy note. It would have been out of keeping with the ultimate, what I might call, solemn optimism of the book. And so in Ecclesiastes, Kohelet, and the book of Proverbs, we have the deliberately contrived ending, which is pedagogic in intent and which is nevertheless, to me at least, natural. In the book of Proverbs, for instance, there was a good deal of girding at the danger that women represent in man's life, even though throughout there was a good deal of tribute paid to woman as well, in that she, as the mother, was equally responsible with the father for the upbringing of the son. Daughters aren't mentioned, particularly. And her feelings, her status is just as important as the husband's, but somehow one would think that the editors, the writers, one is never sure which it was, of the book of Proverbs felt that some sort of climax should be added with regard to a woman, and there is that remarkable passage, which in the Hebrew, by the way, is in the form of an acrostic, on woman. And I do wish you'd read that out, the whole of it, because it does represent a very specific point of view.
Yes, I note in the text that it is an acrostic. That is to say, each verse begins, in the text I'm using it at any rate, and the one you are too, begins with a Hebrew letter. Could you say first what the acrostic spells out?
No, it spells out just the alphabet. Each verse begins with the letters of the alphabet, Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Vav, and so on.
Oh, I thought that might be it, but it isn't like some
the
acrostics.
device is often used. You find it in the Psalms as well.
All right, here is the passage which I'm very happy to read. Shall we say, injustice to women. A woman of valor who can find? For her price is far above rubies. The heart of her husband doth safely trust in her, and he hath no lack of gain. She doeth him good and not evil all the days of her life. She seeketh wool and flax, and worketh willingly with her hands. She is like the merchant ships. She bringeth her food from afar. She ariseth also while it is yet night, and giveth food to her household, and a portion to her maidens. She considereth the field, and buyeth it. With the fruit of her hands she planteth a vineyard. She girdeth her loins with strength, and maketh strong her arms. She perceiveth that her merchandise is good. Her lamp goeth not out by night. She layeth her hands to the distaff, and her hands hold the spindle. She stretcheth out her hand to the poor. Yea, she reacheth forth her hands to the needy. She is not afraid of the snow for her household, for all her household are clothed with scarlet. She maketh for herself coverlets. Her clothing is fine linen and purple. Her husband is known in the gates when he sitteth among the elders of the land. She maketh linen garments and selleth them, and delivereth girdles unto the merchant. Strength and dignity are her clothing, and she laugheth at the time to come. She openeth her mouth with wisdom, and the law of kindness is on her tongue. She looketh well to the ways of her household, and eateth not the bread of idleness. Her children rise up and call her blessed. Her husband also, and he praiseth her. Many daughters have done valiantly, but thou excellest them all. Grace is deceitful, and beauty is vain, but a woman that feareth the Lord, she shall be praised. Give her of the fruit of her hands, and at her works praise her in the gates.
Well, that's a magnificent tribute, and I emphasize the word magnificent. Perhaps it's a little formidable, too. I think I've made the observation before in the course of our talks a year or two ago. This lady is a trifle frightening, I would say. Oddly enough, there's no mention here of her fertility.
No.
Which was one of the great considerations in olden times. There's no mention either of her character any other way, whether she was kind and gentle to her husband, whether it was fun being with her, and whether life was gay and jolly, but she is a tremendous figure. I suppose I can't help saying that marrying her was really like joining the League of Nations or going in for some other tremendous responsibility. I suppose that it couldn't be helped. He had to make amends for any slight that might have been implied in the earlier part of the book, and so you have this. She makes me think of one of those statues by Epstein. You know, those very reliable ladies.
Well, you know, she reminds me too a little bit of the man who says these days, "My wife is a wonderful woman." Wives don't always like to hear that. They would also like to hear him say, "I love my wife," or as you say,
"I'm crazy about her."
I'm crazy. It is fun to live with her, and all that sort of thing.
Yes. You see, this passage, "Grace is deceitful and beauty is vain." I can't quite agree with that. I don't think beauty is vain. I don't think grace is deceitful, and I don't think that women like to hear that said at all.
Well,
but it's the ending. I suppose it's the proper ending to a book of this kind.
Well, Maurice, let me point out, too, how much like a man this wife is. She is, in a way, the man of the household. She considereth a field and buyeth it. with the fruit of her hands she planteth a vineyard. She does all the work. She not only all the household work, which you wouldn't be surprised at, but she does financial work. She bargains. She goes out and takes the part of the husband.
Yes, and he sitteth in the gate.
Yes.
Well, perhaps that's not a bad idea, Mark.
Well, I'm sure we all try to get our wives to do all the work that they will.
Now, the ending to Ecclesiastes is also, in a sense, typical. It rounds out the book. Will you read that, Mark?
The end of the matter, all having been heard. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole man. For God shall bring every work into the judgment concerning every hidden thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil.
Now, one would think, and it's often been said, that this is artificially introduced in order that one should not be misled by any expressions of doubt or any apparently cynical observations. I wouldn't agree with that point of view, because the book itself, within, contains, as it were, its own corrective. The man is not a one-sided doubter, and this is the proper ending, not as a corrective, but as actually the final issue. One can't live on the level of Ecclesiastes. It is well now and again to acknowledge one's perplexities. It is healthy for a man not to repress these doubts as if they were sinful things. Nevertheless, life is lived ordinarily and in a daily way on the level of this last passage, the 13th and 14th verses.
And it's a wonderful thing to have a man as subtle as the author of Ecclesiastes, and as a man, and a man so capable of doubt and despair and weariness of both the flesh and the spirit. It's a wonderful thing to hear him finally saying what all men say. He says, in spite of my subtlety, in spite of the ingenuity in my brain which has enabled me to say these things that could disturb you and that do disturb me, in spite of all that, I finally say that I'm like every other man, I must say. The end of the matter, all having been heard, I having said all that I could say, written all the books that I could write, is fear God and keep his commandments. It's no more, no less true for me than it is for anybody else.
Yes, he's saying, in brief, whatever I've been thinking, whatever I've endured in the way of inner conflict, life has to be lived.
Yes, I'm reminded of certain men in the past who have said something like that. I remember Aristotle and his Ethics. I love Aristotle for having said this. He said, I'm not going to explain what a good man is because everybody knows. All men know what virtue is. They may say they don't, but just try them out. In an emergency, they will know. And so even these days, when it's such a fashion to say that we have lost knowledge of the difference between good and evil, the very persons who say that 5 minutes later will be condemning someone because he has lied or because he is not to be trusted.
Very oddly, your quotation from Aristotle, Mark, makes me think instead of the opening of the Republic, Plato's Republic, where there is, as you remember, a long discussion as to what is the nature of justice.
Yes.
And I don't like that part at all. I don't like it because it ultimately leads to an attitude on life, an almost artificial concept of justice and an artificial concept of man's function, literally man's function instead of man's being. You remember that the Republic is built around the idea of the man as a particular function,
well,
man as the immortal soul.
Well, I'm not sure that I agree. There's in the beginning a number of superficial definitions of justice are given by men who haven't thought much about it. The whole dialogue, which of course, as you know, is long, goes to a point where actually we leave the world of men. We try to understand justice somewhat as Job did. I wouldn't agree that justice in the Republic doesn't become a tremendous thing.
I may have a warped view on this. You've heard it said, no doubt, that the Plato's Republic is a fascist book.
Well, then nothing is sillier than that.
Well, I don't know. Men of considerable attainment and clarity of thought, Bertrand Russell, for example, considers it fascist in that the ordering of the world in the form which he thinks the proper one this subduing of the individual to the character of the state and the placing of each person in a particular niche.
Well, but that isn't the end of the Republic. I would have to say to Bertrand Russell, if he said that to me, and I wouldn't hesitate to do this, that he isn't talking about the end of the book, which gets us quite out of the range of any state. It isn't. The book isn't finally political at all.
After he has disposed of the individual, he permits himself all sorts of high and magnificent thoughts when he has taught everyone that, listen, your job is this, and don't you get it into your head that you can be something else. I was thinking in particular that there's an enormous difference between the wisdom that is displayed there and the wisdom of the wisdom books in the Bible that we've been talking about. There isn't in, I remember, as I seem to remember it, there isn't in the Republic, or for that matter in what we might call the wisdom passages of the Greek writers, there is not the hominess, the prudential, if I may so put it, the prudential attitude of the writers that we've been discovering here in the Bible. Their prudence and their wisdom in the sense of the ordinary daily intercourse between human beings. I came across a passage in Gissing. You know Gissing's Rycroft paper.
Oh, yes, the novelist Gissing.
A very beautiful book.
Yes.
In which I found reflected almost perfectly what the wisdom books in the Bible aim at in their discussion of everyday behavior. And this is what Gissing says. How I envy those who become prudent without thwackings of experience. Such men seem to be not uncommon. I don't mean cold-blooded calculators of profit and loss in life's possibilities, nor yet the plodding, dull, who never have imagination enough to quit the beaten track of security, but bright-witted and large-hearted fellows who always seem to be led by common sense, who go steadily from stage to stage of life, doing the right, the prudent things, guilty of no vagaries, winning respect by natural progress, seldom needing aid themselves, often helpful to others, and through all good-tempered, deliberate, happy. How I envy them.
Very
Is that
nice.
a fine description?
Yes, I'd forgotten.
And don't you think that that is what the wisdom books aim at insofar as they deal with ordinary daily behavior?
Yes, and one of the interesting things to me about Jewish people generally is that their stories, their legends, and the way they talk about life all come finally down to a focus in everyday life, in what men do to each other, in what fathers and sons and daughters, husbands and wives do to each other. The stories are always very intimate. Merchants and customers in stores and traders at fairs and so forth. Every conversation that I remember out of Jewish stories, Jewish narratives, Jewish books, either long or short, brings me always right down to human experience, moment by moment. It's a terribly important thing. As if this race of men thought that quite possibly nothing was more important than the relations of men, minute by minute, in the world.
There's often heard the accusation that the Jews are a materialist people, precisely on those grounds which you have just adduced. And you, however, adducing it as meaning the very opposite of their being materialist.
Quite the opposite. In other words, nothing is without moral importance to them.
Their point of view is, ideally speaking, that all our ordinary actions are interfused with a consciousness of God's presence. But what they insist on is, again, life has to be lived, which is the implied ending of Ecclesiastes, and in fact of the other wisdom books. All these reflections are true. God is with us all the time. Life has to be lived in the consciousness of His presence, but life has to be lived. At the time when these books were written, the Jewish people were already quite old.
Of course. Well, my sense is that they always have felt very old. The book of Ecclesiastes, it seems to me, is a very Jewish book in the sense that it speaks for a feeling that life has been going on forever and ever and ever, and there is no new thing under the sun. Yes, I've seen that. I've seen that happen. Sure, I know all about that. My grandfather knew it. Nothing is ever surprising, it seems to me, to a Jew. It isn't merely that he has lived the number of his years so far since birth, but he has been living somehow in the memory of his race, which is very ancient. There is nothing new. There is nothing strange. There is nothing that he hasn't somehow or other been prepared for.
In a sense, then, the wisdom books are the distillation of the experience of the people, and yet we find there's also a rebellion against the prudence and the what some might consider the excess of caution in the wisdom books, or in that attitude generally. The prophets cry out against the misapplication of wisdom and prudence. Isaiah says, "Woe unto them that are wise in their own eyes and prudent in their own sight." And Jeremiah cries out, "My people is foolish. They are wise to do evil." And he says again, "How do you say we are wise and the law of the Lord is with us?" There is a struggle always between the, you might call it the adventurousness, the spiritual adventurousness of the prophets, their leap into wild places of the spirit, and the caution of a people which, having lived long, is aware that there are rules which it is very dangerous to transgress. There are patterns which it is wise to follow. So there's a constant tension. And the literature of the Bible is, one might say, a literature of tension.
Oh, by all means. And the glory of it seems to me, is that it includes all of the extremes, from the utter plainness of those proverbs which tell you to behave the way all men understand, all men should behave, just for the practical reason that life is unlivable otherwise. From the utter plainness of that to the mystical heights and the depths of despair in Ecclesiastes and Job, and in many other parts of the book, for that matter. And remember, there's always the Psalms to be thought of, too, singing themselves on the theme of the greatness of God and His power. Whatever men may think of their own wisdom or their own prudence, there is always the ultimate recognition to be given, as in Job, as in the Psalms, as elsewhere, to the unspeakable power of God, because it is the power of God that defines Him, isn't it, finally?
Yes, and the correspondence between man and God that you were talking about last week, that there is an interchange between them, which is an illustration as well as a consequence of the fact that God made man in His image. When we get back to the theme that we started out with, or the theme we started to examine, the nature of wisdom generally, we might perhaps take the highest figure incorporating wisdom in the Bible, the figure of Solomon, and we find there, at least I find there, a very remarkable contrast. Solomon, the wisest of all men, who in his wisdom fell into folly. You remember that very wonderful passage in which Solomon's wisdom is discussed. And God gave Solomon wisdom and understanding exceeding much, and largeness of heart. By the way, the heart was the seat of the understanding among the ancient Hebrews too, as well as of the emotion. And largeness of heart, even as the sand that is on the seashore. And Solomon's wisdom excelled the wisdom of all the children of the East, and all the wisdom of Egypt. For he was wiser than all men, and he spoke 3,000 proverbs, and his songs were 1,005, and he spoke concerning the trees, from the cedar tree that is on Lebanon, even unto the hyssop that springeth out of the wall. And he spoke also concerning the beasts, and concerning the fowl, and concerning the creeping things, and concerning the fishes. And men came from all the people to hear the wisdom of Solomon, from all the kings of the earth who had heard of his wisdom. And this is the man who in his old age became foolish, just at the time when, according to the general outlook, a man rises to a climax of understanding. He let himself be led astray by the many wives that he wed. And the curious thing is that they were, I suppose, political wives, not really wives in the sense that we understand nowadays for that word. Man has 1,000 wives. It's obviously, he marries them as a political gestures, indication of an alliance with some people.
Yes, also as a symbol of his power and of his riches. Incidentally, none of those wives was anything like the wife who was described at the end of Proverbs.
Nothing.
Nothing so simple as that.
Couldn't have been otherwise, or if a large number of them were like that, they must have absorbed all of the industry of the country. They would be they would constitute the factory of the country.
As a matter of fact, Maurice, it just suddenly occurs to me that if Solomon is to be considered literally as the author of the book of Proverbs, they are the Proverbs of Solomon and so on. If that is the case, and we can think of him writing this book and coming to the end and writing that passage about the perfect wife, there's a certain pathos in it, isn't it? Because he's describing none of the wives he has.
It's the offset. It is the offset to the Solomon who wrote the Song of Songs, and of course it is usually said that that represents the Song of Songs represents his youth, and the Proverbs represents his reflective old age. They also say that Lemuel at the end, in whose name the last chapter is given, is another name for Solomon, although what warrant there is for that, I don't know. Here is something, Mark, that I've been saving up to ask you on this question of wisdom, this character of wisdom, this mysterious thing, this indefinable and yet unmistakable thing called wisdom. There's a passage in Proverbs, as you remember it, in which we are told, it is a tree of life to those that take hold of it. This tree of life is the tree that's mentioned, at the beginning of the whole Bible, when we are told that Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden were shown two trees. One of them was the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and the other was the tree of life. And when they had eaten of the forbidden fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, they were driven out of paradise, lest, God said, they eat of the tree of life and live forever. And here we are told, pursue wisdom. It is the tree of life. He that takes hold of it takes hold of the tree of life. It looks as though this is the reversal of the driving out from the Garden of Eden. That the restoring to the Garden of Eden is, inasmuch as you have tasted knowledge of good and evil, and most of the wisdom here has to do with the wisdom of good and evil, then steep yourself in it so completely, and fill yourself to the brim with it, and you will actually return to paradise. You will be given the tree of life to hold on to.
Yes. Adam and Eve, having been cast out of Eden, have to learn by themselves. In Eden, the implication was, I think, that they would have been taught by God, or perhaps they didn't even need to be taught. They somehow would know without effort. They are cast out to live the lonely life that humanity lives, and it's a very difficult life with much art and much struggle. We must learn what it is that is true. And that is what wisdom might very well mean here. Of course, God, you remember, rewarded Solomon. God told Solomon to pray either for riches or for wisdom. Solomon elected to pray for wisdom, and God said, I will give you both.
Yes. One of the first occurrences of the word wisdom, in line with what you're just saying, Mark, one of the first occurrences is when Moses is making his valedictory address to the Israelites shortly before his death. He said, See, I have taught you statutes and ordinances. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding before the nations. The pursuit of this type of wisdom is, in the last admonition of Moses to the Israelites, is the destiny and the purpose of the Jewish people.
That reminds me of our discussion last year of the Ten Commandments. Not that I want to remind you of it this late. In the present discussion, the Ten Commandments presumably had to be handed down on tables. They weren't 10 understandings that men might arrive at easily by themselves, were they? They had to be known. They had to be revealed in that sense. So that wisdom, we come back again to the idea expressed everywhere that wisdom has its ultimate source in the mind of God.
You have just heard The Words We Live By, the last program in the Eternal Light Summer Series, which has presented Maurice Samuel and Mark Van Doren in a discussion of the wisdom books of the Bible. Be with us again next week when we will resume our regular Eternal Light dramatizations. by is presented by the National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations, and is produced under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. This is the NBC Radio Network.
This is the NBC Radio Network.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Command the children of Israel that they bring unto thee pure oil olive beaten for the light, to cause the lamps to burn continually in the tabernacle of the congregation. And it shall be a statute forever in your generations.
The Eternal Light. The National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations present The Eternal Light, a program which comes to you under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. Our program today, Wipe the Stain Away, was written by Joseph Mindell and is presented in observance of Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement.
The story is for our time, and for this season of the year. Then hear the words that befit the season and the time.
This hath befallen us. All this I tell as I beheld it, passing through the years of bygone ages. Make an end of blood poured out and wasted. Wash the stain away.
The story is of seeking and of finding. And if the end was knowable from the first, still who can name with certainty the day and place of the beginning? For me it was a day in the early summer of last year, in an office of the Russian consulate.
What can I do for you, Mr.
Miller, Ben Miller. Is this the office that issues visas?
You want to visit the Soviet Union as a tourist?
Oh, not exactly. I work for a magazine.
Ah, a reporter.
No, it's a literary magazine. We're interested in publishing the work of a Russian writer.
Ah, yes. Our cultural attaché can give you the names of the leading Soviet writers.
I know his name. We've published some of his stories.
Well, in that case, I do not see why you understand that I do not wish to discourage legitimate business trips.
Of course not.
It is my duty to ask. Surely this kind of business can be done as easily by letter or by cable.
You're quite right. All our dealings have been by correspondence.
Well, then...
I wrote 6 months ago, and several times since. I have had no answer.
So?
Of course, letters do go astray, even in America.
Nonsense. The Soviet postal system is the finest in the world. If a letter is not delivered...
I didn't say that. I said that I had no answer.
It doesn't matter. In either case, there must be a reason.
Yes. I think so, too.
It is no reflection at all on... What did you say?
I was agreeing with you. That's why I want a visa, to see if I can find the reason for myself.
Mr. Miller, you are not so innocent as you appear.
How innocent is it necessary to be in order to travel in the Soviet Union?
What's his name, this man you want, the writer?
Aaron Leipzig.
And Leipzig, I've seen the name recently on some list, I think. I'll find it. Here it is. Just as I thought. Aaron Leipzig. Well, Mr. Miller, that settles the matter.
You won't give me a visa?
Out of the question. But I will give you some advice. The next time you write to Aaron Leipzig, be sure to address the letter to the place where he can be found.
The slender cord of communication between us, between Aaron Leipzig and me, was snapped in two. It is not necessary to understand why I was impelled to look for the broken ends. Not the seeker, but the search is important. And the search led to a small apartment in Midtown, New York.
Yes, I knew Aaron Leipzig. We were friends.
How can I get in touch with him?
Why ask me? I saw him the last time maybe 10, 11 years ago, just after the war.
But you're friends. Surely you've heard from him.
So he has become an important writer, Aaron.
I like his work, but his importance as a writer has nothing to do with it.
No? And what is your interest?
I told you. His name is on a list at the Soviet consulate.
Don't get excited, my friend. In the Soviet Union, everybody's name is on a list, some list.
All right. Thanks for listening to me.
It was nothing.
Look, I am going to be in Europe for the next month. Maybe in the meantime you'll hear from Leipzig. Maybe you'll ask around. When I get back, I'll come to see you again if you don't mind.
Mr. Miller, I have decided to tell you something. I know somebody who has seen Aaron more recently than I.
Who is he? What's his name?
It is not a he. Dr. Bella Myrovich, doctor of philosophy. She used to write history books. You'll be in London?
Where does she live in London? What's her address?
Not so fast. Her address I won't give you. But there is a man, a book dealer in the East End. Go to him when you get to London. I'll write that he should expect you.
All right. That's how you want it. But I don't understand why it all has to be so roundabout.
Of course you don't. Maybe you'll understand a little better when you have talked with Bella Myrovich.
Excuse me, what apartment, what flat is Dr. Myrovich, Dr. Bella Myrovich?
Never heard of her.
But I was told to come here.
Who told you?
Never mind that.
Whoever he is, he's taking you for a bloomin' fool. No one here by that name.
Now, look here, my name is Miller, and Dr. Myrovich knows I'm coming to see her.
Well, now, why don't you...
All right, Mr. Watkins. I'm expecting Mr. Miller.
Dr. Myrovich.
Well, if you say so, I'll tell you what, he talks too loud.
Come in, Mr. Miller. You are angry.
Oh. Well, maybe.
Still, it is unfortunately necessary, all this hiding and lying. The MVD, the secret police, would like to have me back. Not that I am an important person, but it does not look good if someone escapes from the MVD. You do not believe me.
I have no reason to doubt what you say.
You're very polite. It's not easy to convince someone who has never been experienced secret police. But you came to talk about Aaron Leipzig.
You saw him recently?
Often, until a year ago when I left the Soviet Union. In fact, it's mainly because of him that I am here. He is a persistent man, Aaron Leipzig. Did you know that? For months and months he talked. He kept after me to...
Listen to me, Bella. There is not much time. At the first opportunity, you must leave.
And you, Aaron? What about you?
Who's talking about me?
I am.
All right. You're a historian. You need books, libraries, statistics, facts. It's different with me. I'm a writer. Everything I need I have up here in my head.
Then tell me, my writer, what will you do with what comes out of your head? Every Jewish newspaper, every publication, even the official communist Jewish press is shut down. Every Jewish publishing house.
There was only one left.
It's also closed. Who will read what you write?
You are changing the subject.
It's the same subject. What will you do?
You have to get out, if it's possible.
And you don't?
I have a family, Lucia. You're alone. But who says that I have to be a writer? I'll be a steel worker. Don't you think that's funny?
Aaron, we're not fooling each other. It's not a question of writing or not, or even of how to earn a living, is it? You're not talking about that.
Suppose you're right. What should I talk about? About Sonia? We sent her... She's 12, you know. Old enough to help her mother a little more. We sent her to stand in line for bread. A gang of Komsomols, communist youth, came up.
But did they hurt her?
They spit.
Oh.
Does that hurt? They called her Zhid and pushed her to the end of the line. They kept pushing her back to the end of the line. She cried all night.
Poor child.
Do not give her more than her share of pity. Save some for us. When we read what Ilya Ehrenburg writes in Pravda about homeless, degenerate cosmopolitans, about reactionary aliens hostile to the Soviet spirit. He's so careful not to violate the theoretical laws against anti-Semitism. But the Komsomols know what he means. My Sonia also knows.
What do they want, Arian? What do they want?
I don't have to tell you. You know what they want. They want us not to be. And they are arranging the affair. Peretz Markish was my friend. We used to read to each other what we wrote. He's gone, disappeared. Pfeffer is gone. Bergelson, Mistar, Halken, all gone. Zuskin, the theater director.
It's enough.
He's
I
gone.
also know the
Then I will
names.
tell you something that you do not know. Every night when I go to sleep, there is a little bag beside my bed. Comb and brush. A clean shirt. I don't know if they will let me take it.
Aaron, how can you go on living like this?
That's a foolish question for a historian to ask. Belishka, go. Get away from here. What good does it do for you to remain? From outside, maybe you can do something for those of us who must.
I do not know what else I can tell you, Mr. Miller.
Dr. Meyerowitz, I've read much of what Aaron Leipzig wrote. There's nothing anti-Soviet in it. There's nothing even political.
You're wrong. He wrote about what it meant to be a Jew. Even worse, what it meant to be a man. One single person. Aaron Leipzig.
Where is he now? I mean, is he still alive?
I cannot tell you.
Surely you must realize that I can be trusted.
Oh, it's not that, Mr. Miller. I do not know. I've had no word since I last saw him a year ago.
All right. I won't trouble you further. I'm very grateful, Dr. Meyerowitz.
Why?
Why? Because you were good enough to see me and talk to me.
Aaron was my friend. I can say this. Some people like his work, some do not. And most have never heard of him. He was not a great writer. What is Aaron Leipzig to you?
I don't know how to answer. Maybe in some way I feel a responsibility in what is happening to him.
Yes, I think I understand. Mr. Miller, did you plan to visit Berlin?
You know something more?
I cannot vouch for it. It's hardly more than a rumor. I have heard that in West Berlin there is a man, David Pintner, an old friend who had just come out. Maybe he can tell you about Aaron Leipzig.
You are surprised, Mr. Miller, that I meet you in a cafe.
I suppose I am, Mr. Pintner.
I will explain. You see, there are a number of theories of safety. I believe in bright lights and crowds. Maybe it is because I'm afraid of dark, quiet streets. It doesn't matter.
Mr. Pintner.
I see that you are also shocked at my appearance. What did you expect? Life in a Soviet concentration camp does not make a person beautiful.
Mr. Pintner, I didn't say any of these things.
You must make allowances for me. I have not yet become accustomed to talking once more like a civilized person. Now, what do you want me to tell you?
You saw Aaron Leipzig.
We were in the same camp, near the town of Bratsk. Pfeffer and Bergelson were also there, but not in the same barracks. Aaron was pleased when he found out. He was pleased until he saw Pfeffer for the first time in the barracks yard area, where they occasionally let us out for exercise.
What have they done to him, David? What have they done to Itzik Pfeffer?
Done? Nothing unusual, Aaron. He is questioned regularly, of course.
He's so thin. His skin and bones. His face is a mass of bruises. His hands tremble.
Bruises normally come with questioning. After all, a man suspected of conspiring with Zionists and other fascists, a man charged with falsely accusing the Communist Party of anti-Semitism, cannot expect gentle treatment.
Oh, stop it, David. Talking like that injures only you.
How should I talk? You saw Itzhak Pfeffer, poet, former colonel in the Red Army. You saw him. Should I say nothing? Is it better to cry useless tears?
I don't know what's better. You imagine in your mind the worst that can be. Then it happens, and you see that reality is even blacker than imagination. And then you know.
You don't know, Aaron.
I saw him, didn't I? I saw him with my own eyes.
You don't know until you are called for questioning yourself. The guards don't like noise at night. You must be quiet, Aaron. Your shirt is soaked with blood. Here, let me take it off.
I had a clean shirt ready, David, but they didn't let me take the bag.
Here, put this on. It used to be the best of my good suit.
No.
Don't argue. Don't argue. Put it on. I'll wash your shirt tomorrow. Now, lie down. Lie down and be still.
There's something I want to tell you. Something that came to my mind.
Not now. There will be time tomorrow.
Yes.
Next month. Next year.
No, I have to tell you now.
All right, then. Talk if you must, but quietly. Well?
How long was I there?
3 days. It was bad, the questioning.
For 1 whole day, they made me sit on a stool with 2 legs. When I lost my balance and fell to the floor, they kicked me till I got up again. Just think what a time we live in. What invention. A stool with 2 legs.
If you want to say something, say it.
No, there's no telling what they'll think of next.
Aaron, go to sleep.
No, listen to me. I want to tell you something, David. The idea came to me when I was there. I thought about it for 3 days, every minute, as hard as I could, because then I didn't feel so much. David, we are dangerous people, you and I.
Yes, you look dangerous.
Well, we are.
Because we're Jews?
No, because we're different. And totalitarians cannot tolerate difference, don't you see?
What I see is all of Russia with plenty of space for concentration camps. Enough for the 2 million Soviet Jews.
We're not the only ones. There are others with eyes that can see and minds that can ask questions.
There's room for them, too. Aaron, right now your mind is... this is no time for political philosophy.
No, David, you don't understand. And they don't either, those in the Kremlin. They spit on difference. They beat it down with clubs. But they do not see that all people are different. Everybody is a single, different individual.
You talk like a schoolboy who has just read a book. Oh, I am sorry, Aaron. I shouldn't talk like this. Now, after 3 such days you have had.
It's all right. This, David, it's sticking to my back where it's still bleeding. Thank you.
Do you really believe what you have been saying?
I believe it. I have to believe it. Only what is the rest of the world, the free world, thinking? Do they know about us? Do they know about secret police and 2-legged stools?
What difference does it make? Whatever has to be done here, we must do.
What does it mean to them, all this that's happening here? What?
Prisoner Leipzig, step forward. Prisoner Aaron Leipzig.
Take the vest, David.
Keep it there.
Take it, I say.
Prisoner Leipzig.
Coming. I'm coming.
March, prisoner.
David, listen. Suffering must have meaning. and meaning must be shared. Do you hear, David?
No! Shut up. Now move.
What else would you like me to tell you, Mr. Miller? Perhaps you would like to hear how I escaped from the Soviets. It is an exciting story, with a number of variations depending on the audience. I am a cynical person, as you have no doubt noticed. It may amuse you to learn that when they brought Leipzig back the second time, I cried.
Mr. Pinton, is he still alive?
I'm curious about something, Mr. Miller. Why are you more concerned about Aaron Leipzig than about all the others?
Because it's perfectly natural.
To me, it is not natural at all. I used to be a bookkeeper. I have an aptitude for figures. I will give you some statistics. From 1948 on, 238 Yiddish writers, 87 Jewish painters, 99 actors, and 19 musicians were executed or tortured to death or died what is called a natural death in Soviet prisons and concentration camps. The total is 443. You have no comment, Mr. Miller?
What do you want me to say?
I was wondering, if your concern was spread among the 443, would it diminish in proportion? And if you counted also the thousands, the millions who are not writers or artists, who are not Jewish, what then?
Is Aaron Leipzig still living?
How should I know? I am not sure I even know what you mean by living. Mr. Miller, I must ask you again to forgive me. I have come out into your world, a place of refuge. I am grateful.
No one is asking for gratitude.
You have made a long journey for the sake of Aaron Leipzig, who was my friend. You deserve better of me than I gave.
I didn't ask for anything.
Still, I am grateful to you. But I cannot forget the world from which I came. Can you? You are afraid to answer?
You know the answer, as well as I.
Maybe I do. And maybe there are those in your world who also have cause to ask forgiveness.
The story is for this season of the year, for Yom Kippur, when each one stands before God and seeks within him that which requires atonement. Let the whole world also rise. Let the world seek atonement for those evils most easily done, for indifference, for silence, for acquiescence. Then may the words be said, the ancient ritual that recalls the martyrs of long ago, so that we may remember those more recent.
This hath befallen us. All this I tell as I beheld it passing through the years of bygone ages. Make an end of blood poured out and wasted. Wash the stain away, O God, who sittest on a gracious throne.
If you would like a copy of today's script, please send your name and address with 10 cents to cover the cost of postage and handling to the Jewish Theological Seminary of America, 3080 Broadway, New York 27, New York. And now we take great pleasure in presenting Rabbi Aaron Blumenthal, spiritual leader of Temple Emmanuel, Mount Vernon, New York, and president of the Rabbinical Assembly of America. Rabbi Blumenthal.
Within a few days, Jews everywhere will find themselves in the synagogues of the world on Yom Kippur, seeking atonement for their sins. For most of us, the task will appear to be simple. After all, we have not committed any grievous sins. We think of ourselves as living and moving within a small circle of influence and responsibility. Husbands, wives, parents, children, friends, and business associates. We have behaved fairly well towards them during the past year. No, our sins are too petty to cause any real concern. Certainly they have no effect upon the well-being of society. The serious sins of the world are committed by others. Read the tabloids. The Sephardic prayer book has preserved for us the confession of sin by the saintly Rabbi Isaac ben Israel. Here are some phrases from his confession. Sovereign of the universe, when I reflect on my sin, my transgression, and my guilt, fear and dread seize me. I am silent and overwhelmed with the enormity of mine iniquity. If I pretend to righteousness, my own mouth will condemn me, and if mine iniquity be investigated, what shall I say, or how shall I justify myself? Now this was a truly pious man whose life was more saintly than mine, yet see how much more troubled he was about his sins. In today's script, the author Joseph Mindell helps us to understand where man must search if he is to discover his real sins. First, he must break the circumference of the smug little circle of his existence. There are no limits to our responsibilities, for every man is our brother. Jews in the Soviet Union, Hungarian patriots in their homeland, the poor, the oppressed, the starving, and the homeless of the world cry to the conscience of humanity, and we, their brothers, are the heart and hands of that conscience. How often has our heart been untouched and our hand unmoved? They cry to the world, and we must understand that each of us is the world. Oh yes, we have sinned deeply during this past year. The maturity of our religious thinking will be demonstrated this Yom Kippur by the depth of our search for sins which require atonement, by the circumference which we impose upon our concern for our fellow men. God grant us the insight to comprehend our sinfulness.
Thank you, Rabbi Blumenthal. Our Eternal Light drama today, Wipe the Stain Away, was written by Joseph Mindell and was presented in observance of Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. Featured in the cast were Norman Rose, Barry Kroger, Charmley Allen, Guy Rep, Raymond Edward Johnson, Ed Peck, and Sam Raskin. Cantor David Putterman sang the liturgical music. This is Mel Brandt. Our program was directed by Walt Ergott. This weekly program is presented under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. This is the NBC Radio Network.
Spake unto Moses, saying, Command the children of Israel that they bring unto thee pure oil olive beaten for the light, to cause the lamps to burn continually in the tabernacle of the congregation. And it shall be a statute forever in your generation.
The Eternal Light. The National Broadcasting Company
and its affiliated independent stations present The Eternal Light, a program which comes to you under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. Our program today, Calloused Hands, was written by Stephen Gethers and is presented in observance of Sukkot, the Jewish Festival of Tabernacles.
There is an old saying that the sands of time erase the calluses of life. At one point, not many years ago, I prayed that this proverb would be true. Now, I don't know. Sometimes as I look back, I think that perhaps this is one of the ills of the world. People spend half their lives getting calluses, and the other half trying to erase them. When you erase something, anything, it is gone forever, and you forget. If you forget, the same thing will happen to you again. It is good to keep one callus where you can see it, feel it, touch it, so that you remember. How do you like Israel, Mr. Sokol? Oh, beautiful. Beautiful indeed.
How does it compare with your own country, Poland?
My country is the United States, gentlemen. I'm now an American citizen.
Oh, yes, I'd forgotten. Well, how does it compare, then, with the United States?
I find it difficult to compare beautiful flowers. They all spring from the same earth. Will you be with us very long? I hope to tour your cities for as long as you'll have me. After that, the Israel Philharmonic Orchestra will probably throw me out and call for Arthur Rubinstein. Oh, I'm afraid not, sir. What will your program consist of? Mostly Chopin. He's my favorite. After that, Tchaikovsky, whatever I think you would like.
Well, you've been practicing with the Philharmonic, Mr. Sokol. Has anything struck you as being distinctive about their methods?
Distinctive?
Sure.
No, I'd say there's a sameness about their methods, just as there is in most free countries in which I've played. And what is that, sir? Well, I just said it. You are a free country, free to listen to whatever you choose, to play whatever you choose. A wonderful sameness.
I think Mr. Sokol's getting a little tired now, gentlemen. See you after the concert tomorrow, all right?
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
They like you, Marianne.
I like them.
Good. Marianne, leave your hands alone, huh? Please. You sit there rubbing your hands as if you were mixing cement. You're a pianist, not a cement mixer. Now, how can you play Chopin with calloused hands? Huh?
I can play Chopin with my elbows, Max, and Tchaikovsky.
Yeah, I know, because you are free to play Chopin and Tchaikovsky.
Yes.
But the war's been over for a long time. Now, please, Marianne, it is no good to have calloused hands. What are you trying to do, rub off the scars?
Max, you're a good agent. I wish I'd had you to represent me in 1941.
Where?
In Warsaw.
Warsaw? For what?
There was a man who used to argue with me.
Why?
We didn't have the same taste in music.
Sokol, are you inside?
Come in, Captain Vasa.
Forgive me for disturbing you before your concert. I realize it is wrong to approach an artist just before he is to play so beautifully for his Jewish friends.
And why do you do it?
Perhaps I'm insensitive. Yes, sir, let us say I am insensitive.
All right, we have said it. What do you want?
The first thing I want is for you to address me as you should when you speak to an officer of the Reich.
If I did, you would execute me.
Don't give me any ideas. Now, the Fuhrer has been kind enough to allow me to continue your concerts here in Warsaw. For the 10th time, I will tell you that there are restrictions. I told it you last week and you disobeyed. I will tell it you now for the last time. You are a Jew. Your audience is comprised of Jews. You are a ghetto musician playing with a ghetto orchestra. Thus you will play ghetto music. Mahler, Meyerbeer, Mendelssohn. That is all. If you disobey, I am sure that we can find more useful services for you to perform with your delicate hands.
Where is your logic, Captain Vasa? All over Germany and its occupied countries, the works of these great men are banned, verboten. Yet this is all I can play.
The Fuhrer is a great disciple of the arts, and art has no logic, Zorker.
Nor has the Fuhrer.
You're quick with the witticisms. You should be proud to play the music of your people.
I am proud to play the music of any people.
If you are allowed to do so.
If I am allowed to do so?
This is what I am trying to impress upon you. You are not allowed. Tonight, you will play Mendelssohn. You understand? Just Mendelssohn. Nothing else. It is your penalty.
For what?
For being a Jew. You will play Jewish music until it spills from your intestines, my friend. You will rub your nose in it. Jewish music for a Jewish nose. Clear?
Clear.
Go then. Your audience awaits your genius.
Are you ready, Herr Conductor?
Yes, ready. I saw Wasser go into your dressing room.
Yes, we had a nice little talk.
He heard what you played last week?
He heard about what I played last week.
Then the concert is off?
No, Joseph. We play Mendelssohn.
Mendelssohn? But I thought... My Jan, I do not have the
Don't
score.
Don't worry. Mendelssohn. And Mendelssohn it was. Wasser used to stand at the rear of the theater for the first selection, then he would leave. Tonight, he waited. Served him right. We gave him Mendelssohn, the same selection over and over again. The audience sat quietly until the piece was finished. Then they stood up and cheered. So, he played it again. And again. And again.
Again, Marianne?
If necessary. I'm watching him.
I think he will stay till the end.
So shall we.
He's getting restless, Marianne.
Fine.
It is late. Let us stop now. Marianne, for heaven's sake.
He's leaving.
What of his soldiers?
They wouldn't know Mendelssohn from Joseph Goebbels. Now. The Tchaikovsky Piano Concerto, Herr Conductor. The audience stayed for another hour while the orchestra and I played our original program. We knew, all of us, what it might mean if Wasser heard about it. We even knew that he would.
So you are a hero, Zokol. You want to play Tchaikovsky. How is it you did not play Chopin? I understand he is your favorite.
I could not get the score.
Oh, what a pity. What happened to your friends? They've been so very busy smuggling in forbidden scores to you. Perhaps Mr. Chopin doesn't like his music played by a Jew. Well, I think that is most undemocratic. We are not like that. We appreciate your talent. So we are going to claim you for our very own. We want you to entertain us, Zokol. In Meidenech. You know, the concentration camp.
Achtung! We are expecting some new arrivals at the camp in a few hours. Naturally, we'll have to make room for them. You will be picked at the evening meal, after which you will fall out and load up into the trucks.
The trucks. We all knew what that meant. An ever-flowing mass of humanity moving not from one camp to another, but from one camp to the trucks, and from the trucks into an oven, several miles down the road. They come, Jurgen.
God help us, Sokol, all of us.
Now listen to me. Those designated will rise immediately and go to the courtyard. There's no need to pack your clothing. You will be issued new equipment when you get to your new camp. Achtung! Hoffmann, Melich, Mendel, Schneider, Guttmacher, Grobe, Jürgen.
Sokol.
Jürgen, my friend.
It is my name. They call my name. For what? What have I done?
What has any one of us done?
No, I will not go.
Quiet.
I will not go!
You fool! Why do you scream? Are you afraid to go where it will be comfortable and warm?
I don't want your kind of warmth. I will not go into those trucks.
Get up.
No. Sokol, help me. I will not go into the truck.
I cannot help you, Jurgen. That is the misery of being here. I cannot help even myself.
I tell you, the trucks will go to a new camp where you will be treated even better than here. It is a promotion for you.
A promotion to the inside of an oven. Sokol, don't let them do this. I will not go. I will not go.
Pick him up. Put him in the truck.
Jurgen, my friend.
I believe this is all. Sokol.
Yes?
Stay easy. I have a job for you. Here.
What do you want?
Since you have shown us how clever you are with your hands, I've recommended your promotion to the coal bins. You will be our foreman. You will teach the new inductees how to unload the precious coal. Well, do you hear me?
I hear you.
Now, the new men await you. Do you think you can lead them with a shovel, or would you like to use a baton?
A baton. When I first came here, I wondered if I would ever play again. I stopped when others began to wonder if they would ever live again. While others looked to the future, I hoped for some sign of the past. I found it in, of all places, the coal bin. It is necessary to keep moving, my friends. When you have finished with one load, go directly to the next. Do not stop to speak with one another. If you are caught, it can become quite unpleasant.
Your hands, Marianne. Your beautiful hands.
Joseph.
Your hands.
Joseph, my dear friend, my great conductor. When did you arrive?
A little while ago. You look haggard, Marianne.
This is not exactly a resort, Joseph. Why did they bring you here? You're an old man. Of what use can you be to them?
Use? Perhaps together we can give them several hours of Mendelssohn.
You can still laugh, Joseph.
Yes, at them. Calloused, Marianne. Your hands are filled with callousness. How can you ever play again?
I will play. Come, sit here. I already have my calluses. Let me shovel for you.
And show them that I am useless. No, I will shovel for myself.
And he did. This old man, this wonderful old man. What bothered him more than anything were my hands, my calloused hands. A year had passed. By this time we had heard rumors that the Nazis were not doing so well on the battlefronts. We learned this from several of the replacements who came into camp. One of them was my brother, Saul.
I tell you, Marianne, they are losing the war. Throughout the country, it is all they speak of. The Allies are closing in from all sides.
How do you know this?
That is why I'm here. They said I was a troublemaker. We had a radio, several friends and I. They found us listening to the newscast from London.
You're lucky you're still alive.
Lucky? Here?
If the Allies are near, then it will not be long before we are free.
Free? I think, Marianne, that I have found my favorite word in the dictionary. Free.
But Saul was not as patient as Joseph and I. Freedom was not a thing he was able to wait for. He was anxious to get out, if only to join the Allied forces. One night, he set his plan in motion.
I tell you, they'll need all the help they can get. We've got to get out of here.
You are too impatient, Saul. It is impossible. No. All around there are guards just waiting for such a thing to be tried. We have seen many shot down, or worse, because they failed.
I will not fail.
What good will you be to anyone if you are delivered to the Allies in a shroud?
I have friends. There are many in the underground who will help when I get out.
If you get out...
Saul, don't try it. Patience.
I am going, Marianne.
As you wish. When?
Tonight.
Joseph and I could not dissuade him. Yet we knew that Saul would never cross the barbed wire. He said he had a plan. We didn't want to hear it. If he was successful, We did not want to know anything which could be forced from us. Later that afternoon, we were all at work in the coal bins when the lieutenant approached our unit. He stopped near Joseph's side.
Let us move, old man. You're here to shovel coal, not to admire it.
I do as much as I can, Lieutenant.
Perhaps that is not enough. Perhaps you wish to be replaced by a new arrival?
Now, where would you find one as industrious as I? Where will you find the replacement who has the bulging biceps, the rippling muscles?
You are filled with comedy today, old-timer. Perhaps tomorrow you will not laugh so freely. There will be a detachment leaving here. By truck.
Let him alone.
Oh. The other Sokol wishes to join him. I don't blame you. It's a nice ride.
Let him alone.
Easy, Saul. So, I am going, Lieutenant.
Well, wait and see what tomorrow brings, old man.
Joseph, no panic. Perhaps he is merely threatening.
They do not threaten, Joseph. He means what he says. Tomorrow they will stuff you in the truck and cart you off.
Quiet.
Joseph, perhaps you will go with Saul tonight.
Saul will not get out alive.
I say I will.
But certainly you cannot make it with me. My bones are too stiff to keep up with you. No, I have a better plan.
After we finished our work, Joseph went into the courtyard. We watched him as he stopped the lieutenant.
Lieutenant?
Yeah? What are you doing here, old man? You're supposed to be in your quarters.
Forgive me, but I have a suggestion to make.
A suggestion? How would you like to do? Construct a synagogue on the premises?
Nothing quite that startling.
Well, speak then.
I understand that you are being visited here by several important dignitaries who are going to look over the camp. Is that correct?
Where did you get that information?
We may be secluded, but we are not dead. We know many things.
Indeed. What is your suggestion?
Well, there is so little for them to do here. Perhaps some music would put them in a better frame of mind when they write out their report to your superiors.
Music?
You can get instruments, I'm sure. We have a fine violinist, one of the barracks. Sokol and I play the piano. What do you think?
I think you're trying to get into my good graces. Perhaps you're worried about the trucks tomorrow?
Perhaps. But if I get into your good graces with my suggestion, perhaps you will get into their good graces with my music.
I will speak to the Herr Commandant.
Joseph returned in a little while. He told us what he had done. I don't understand, Joseph. What good will this do?
How do you know they will let you play?
Things have been going poorly for them. Their greatest artists are shoveling coal through the country. I don't think they will pass up the opportunity to hear some beautiful music, even if played by a Jew.
What will this accomplish?
Accomplish? Many things.
You think perhaps they will keep you on here because of it?
Perhaps. They will also reduce the guards, Saul. If you are to go tonight, it is better that your circumstances should be more favorable. Their men have been grumbling. It is conceivable that they will be allowed to attend the concert as well as the officers.
Thank you, Joseph.
My compliments.
I have spoken to Herr Commandant. You will be ready at 8 o'clock tonight. The guard will escort you to the recreation hall. You will be in clean uniform. Understood?
Oh, quite clear, Lieutenant.
I advise you to play as you have never played before. The visitors are in no mood to hear amateurs. Especially Jewish amateurs. That's all.
Well, as usual, you were right, Joseph.
Yes. Can you still play, Marianne?
I don't know. These calluses.
You can play.
You had better. You know who one of our visitors will be?
No.
Wasser. Colonel Wasser.
Wasser, a colonel. I had not seen him for 4 years, not since he first sent me to Majdanek. That night, we were getting ready for our concert. But somehow I wasn't quite sure about anything. Saul was busily planning his escape while Joseph sat quietly, too quietly, on his cot.
I will wait until I hear the music. As soon as you start your second selection, I will crawl through the courtyard to the western barrier. The barbed wire is a little higher from the ground, so it will not be too much trouble to go under it. There are woods about 100 yards to the rear which stretch for miles. They will never find me in there. I know my way. I will make it.
I hope so, Saul.
Do not worry. When I reach my friends, we will contact the proper authorities. You will see a liberation the like of which will dazzle your eyes.
Yes.
Since when do they knock?
Tonight we are artists. Come in.
Good evening. Good heavens. Time has dulled your memories. Don't tell me you've forgotten me. Perhaps it is the insignia. I am a colonel now. Wasser. Colonel Wasser. Remember?
Always, Colonel. I will always remember you.
Very gracious, Doctor. And you, Herr Conductor, how are you? Still in good health?
Oh, very well, Herr Colonel. Thank you for your concern.
Well, of course I'm concerned. After all, I feel responsible for my two old friends. As a matter of fact, just for the sake of old times, I have decided to escort you to the concert myself. Now, where else in the entire German army can you get a colonel for a guard? Isn't that nice?
Nice? It is perfect.
Well, a lovely night for music, no?
Lovely.
Lovely night. Clear. You can see every outline, every shadow. You notice, Joseph?
Yes. It does not matter.
Huh? What does not matter?
That you are a pig.
Suddenly I knew what Joseph had in mind, what he had in mind all along.
Do not take advantage of my generosity, old man, or you will not live to play your Jewish concert.
Perhaps not. But age should never survive youth, Colonel Wasser.
Joseph, don't do it, please.
Have you lost your senses, old man?
I have regained them. Fat pig of a man. Marianne, no man can survive the unholy trio near that fence. They shoot bullets of hate with deadly accuracy. I have lived too long, my young friend. I told you that once before. Joseph!
Oh, Joseph! You fool! God, shoot him!
There was no concert that night, just as Joseph knew there would not be a concert. I was certain that he had planned it this way from the beginning. Age should never survive youth, he said. He did it for Saul. For Saul.
I'd give my life to get him back, Marianne.
That is exactly what he did not want you to do.
But he was not certain that he would go into the trucks tomorrow. Why didn't he wait?
It didn't matter, Saul. Joseph knew you could never get past the wall. He also knew that he could not dissuade you.
He could have lived.
He lived too long, Saul. That's what he told me several times.
And we, Marianne? Have we lived too long?
Not long enough. You yourself told me. It will not be much longer before we are free. Remember, Saul, free? Your favorite word?
And Joseph's.
And Joseph. I'm happy for one thing at least. He died in the cool of the night. Wasser stayed on for several days. He came to see me.
Well, Sokol, such excitement, huh? Come here, Sokol. Will you answer a question for me?
Yes?
Why? Why did that stupid old man do what he did? He knew he did not have a chance to get away. What was the point to it?
I can't answer that, Colonel Wasser, only because you would never understand.
Well, it is ridiculous. You have been here a long while. You have seen what we can do, our strength, our might, everything. Do you still think that you can overcome force with martyrdom?
We are not martyrs, Colonel. We are people like any other people.
you are Jews.
Made of the same flesh, the same talent, the same aches, the same breath as any other man who walks. Long after you are gone, Vassar, I will be playing my piano for those who wish to hear.
You are deluding yourself.
No, you are. Even now, the Allies are breaking through your perimeters. Even now, your conquered nations are taking their flags out of mothballs so that they can wave them in your conquered faces. It is not far off. Nothing is far off, Vassar. And someday, there will be a Jewish state, an Israel, to build against people like you.
Dream, my friend. Dream.
It was a dream. A dream which came true. Soon after Vassar left the camp, we all did. Liberation. The Sudetenland was free. I'm an American now. I came to Israel to play, mostly Chopin, because he's my favorite. He was Joseph's favorite, too. I cannot forget him. I must not forget him. So I sit and rub my hands together. The stiffness is gone from the fingers. The scars from the coal bins have almost healed. But one callus remains. I keep it there, on my hand. I nurse it, to remember what it was like. To remember that the sands of time cannot erase all the calluses of life. They run too quickly for regret, and too slowly for compromise.
If you would like a copy of today's script, please send your name and address with 10 cents to cover the cost of postage and handling to the Jewish Theological Seminary of America, 3080 Broadway, New York 27, New York. Our Eternal Light drama today, Calloused Hands, was written by Stephen Gethers and has been presented in observance of Sukkot, the Jewish Festival of Tabernacles. Featured in the cast were Roger de Koven in the role of Sokol. Also featured were Barry Kroger, Alan Bergman, Stefan Schnabel, Louis Soren, Ed Peck, and Raymond Edward Johnson. The liturgical introduction was sung by cantor David Putterman. This is Mel Brandt. Our program was directed by Scott Buckley. This weekly program is presented under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America.
Command the children of Israel that they bring unto thee pure oil olive, beaten for the light, to cause the lamps to burn continually in the tabernacle of the congregation. And it shall be a statute forever in your generations. The Eternal Light.
The National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations present The Eternal Light, a program which comes to you under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. Our program today, The Case of the Glastonbury Cows, was written by Mark Siegel.
In the archives of freedom, in the annals of liberty, there are moments that live forever.
The Boston Tea Party, the battles of Concord and at Lexington, the signing of the Declaration of Independence, the birth of the Constitution.
Placed next to these, unblushingly, in the archives of freedom, in the annals of liberty, the case of the Glastonbury cows. This is a true story about two spinster ladies, a book, a small New England town, and 7 extraordinary cows. The ladies' names were Julia Evelina Smith and Abby Hadassah Smith. The book is the Book of Books, the Holy Bible. The town was Glastonbury, Connecticut. Each of these 7 cows also had a name, but we'll save that for later in the story. To understand the case of the Glastonbury cows at all, you have to know something about the ladies who owned them. Neither Miss Abby nor Miss Julia were exactly retiring types. As a matter of fact, Miss Abby was thought by some of the Glastonbury folks to be rather a talkative person, especially talkative about her family.
Started with the Bible. Nobody couldn't forget the Bible in our house. Not for a minute. Now, you just take the names. Mother's name was Hannah Hadassah Hickok. Father's was Zephaniah Smith. I suppose you know who Zephaniah was. If memory serves me right, he was the son of Cushing.
Abby Hadassah Smith was a bit talkative, I suppose. Much more talkative than her sister Julia. If it had been up to Julia, possibly no one would even know about the case of the Glastonbury cows.
Now, don't you go saying a thing against Julia. Why, Julia was my support and help all through. Julia may be quiet, but when she puts her mind to something, she stays with it.
Well, for once, Miss Abby is understating the facts. Miss Julia, for example, spent 9 years translating the entire Bible from the original Hebrew.
Why? Well, Julia allowed as the English version that rested on our parlor bookshelf wasn't completely accurate. What else was there for her to do but make her own translation?
The case of the Glastonbury cows really began on a brisk morning in November 1873. Now, if, as we review the facts, we find Miss Abby somewhat loquacious, perhaps we can forgive her on the basis of youth. She was much younger than her sister Julia. Abby was only 77. Julia was 82. It was Miss Abby who opened the door of the trim white homestead in which the sisters lived on that fateful morning in the year 1873.
Well, good morning, Mr. Andrews. We've been expecting you.
Morning, Miss Abby.
Julia! Julia, it's Mr. Andrews come visiting on his annual chore. Please to come into the parlor, Mr. Andrews.
Well, thank you, Miss Abby. The mornings are growing chill, to be sure. Though I don't know as you're going to welcome the news I've brought.
Mr. Andrews, no one rightly welcomes the tax collector's news. Still, there's no reason to be inhospitable. Julia! Fetch a cup of hot cocoa for Mr. Andrews. He looks a bit shivery.
Poured it already. Morning, Mr. Andrews. Drink it. You do look chilled.
Thank you, Miss Julia.
Brought some bran muffins, too.
Oh, I thank you. Pity I can't repay your kindness.
Mr. Andrews, I told you already we're prepared for your annual visit. My sister and I have our tax money put aside. You needn't be hesitant about asking for it. Gracious! We've paid taxes every November for the past 40 years to you and Mr. Corliss
Abby,
before you.
Give him a chance to say his piece.
To say his piece? Why, what would...
I do believe he's trying to tell us something.
Yes, I am, Miss Julia.
Well, then say it, Mr. Andrews.
Well,
Well, what, Mr. Andrews?
Well, Miss Abby, it's that I have to ask you for more than I did last year.
For more? Has the town council raised the tax?
No, ma'am, but...
Then why must you ask for more.
Well, they've reassessed your property, Miss Abby.
That's odd. Hadn't heard of any general reassessment?
No, there hasn't been any general reassessment, Miss Julia.
No general reassessment?
No, ma'am.
George Andrews, you mean to sit there and tell us only our property's been reappraised?
Well, no, not exactly. Yours, Miss Abby, and
what, Mr. Andrews? Don't fear to talk.
Yours, and the property of Widow Merton,
and that's all?
And the property of Widow Baker.
No one else's? Just our land and the land of two widows?
Yes, Miss Julia. It's only a small rise in the tax, Miss Julia, a very small rise.
I don't care if it's a penny's rise, Mr. Andrew. Do you, Abby?
Certainly not. We won't pay it.
You won't pay it?
That's right. We won't pay it, Mr. Andrews. Not 1 cent.
But, Miss Abby, it's the law. The town council has reappraised your land. That's all there is to it.
That's not all there is to it by any means, Mr. Andrews. This is a question of
justice.
Of justice, of course. That's exactly the word.
What's unjust about it? I don't recollect your getting so riled up ever before about paying your tax.
It's not the tax, Mr. Andrews. It's the principle. From what you've just told us, not 1 acre of land in the whole township owned by a man has risen in value.
I can't help that, Miss Abby. All I can do is to collect your tax.
You'll admit it's an extraordinary coincidence, Mr. Andrews.
What is, Miss Julia?
My sister means it's an extraordinary coincidence that the town council, made up only of men, voted into office only by men, should discover values of land have risen only for women, especially women without menfolk who can talk for them. Now you can just go back to that town council and tell them that Miss Abby Hadassah Smith and Miss Julia Evelina Smith will not pay an unjust tax.
You can tell them to read their Bibles a bit, too.
The Bibles? What's that got to do with it, Miss Julia?
Tell them to read the first chapter of Genesis.
I can't tell the town council what to read, Miss Julia. I'm only the tax collector.
You tell them anyway. Tell them the Lord created all men equal. Tell them my sister and I are just sure he meant all men and all women, too. You care to have another muffin, Mr. Andrews?
In the year 1873, the town council of Glastonbury, Connecticut, was not precisely accustomed to being advised by women. Not even by the Smith sisters, who were known generally for their independence of spirit and their reservoir of learning. The chairman of the council received the tax collector's report, therefore, with great equanimity.
Oh, what? What's that they said, Andrews?
They said for the council to read the first chapter of Genesis.
I have never... In all my years,
Well, I'm just saying the words as they said them to me.
Never mind what they said to you. You listen to what I'm saying to you.
Yes, sir. You've got my ear.
Oh, hang your ear. You're Glastonbury's tax collector, aren't you? No, I'm telling you to collect the tax. And another thing, Andrews.
Sir?
You might tell Miss Abby and Miss Julia that the town council can continue to function without their advice as to Bible reading.
George Andrews, the tax collector, returned to the Smith homestead and delivered the chairman's message. This time, Miss Abby suggested another reading for the council.
If they're too stubborn to open the good book, tell them to read the Declaration of Independence. Tell them taxation without representation is what our forefathers fought the British about almost 100 years ago.
Miss Julia, the quiet one, had a simpler suggestion.
Abby.
Yes, Julia?
Better still. Let's tell them ourselves.
In the year 1873, women did not attend town meetings in Glastonbury, Connecticut. Women did not vote. Women were represented in the town council by their male relatives. Women never spoke at town meetings or requested the right to do so.
Mr. Chairman! Mr. Chairman, I'm asking for the right to speak.
Gentlemen, let us have order. Please.
Let us have order. You, Miss Abby, you are out of order. Completely and irrevocably out of order.
Mr. Chairman, something else is out of order if I don't have the right to speak.
Miss Abby, it is simply not the custom for ladies to attend town meetings.
And I do believe the time's come to alter the custom, Mr. Chairman.
Now, just 1 minute here. Miss Abby, we have no wish to quarrel with you. We would appreciate it if you'd sit down. This town meeting has much business to transact.
What business is more important than the business of justice?
Miss Abby, is there no way to reason with you?
Reason? Is it reasonable that I shouldn't be heard? It's not as if I had a son or brother or father to speak for me. It's not without due deliberation that we've been willing to attend this meeting. We had no other way of coming before the men of the town.
Let her speak, John. We needn't necessarily listen.
All right. All right, Miss Abby. In respect for your age,
I'll not speak on the grounds of my age. Besides which, John, I consider it ungallant of you to mention it.
Miss Abby, speak on any grounds you will.
Very well. I'll speak on the grounds of justice.
We'd appreciate it if you'd speak briefly on whatever grounds. You know, that's a bit hard for you.
Hard or not, I'll be brief. It's not 10 years since we fought a war to emancipate the slaves.
What's that to do with taxes, Miss Abby?
It's everything to do with taxes and with freedom. Now, what's the motto of our government? Proclaim liberty throughout the land unto all the inhabitants thereof. All. That's from Leviticus chapter 25, verse 10.
Miss Abby, you and your sisters have a peculiar propensity to teach this town council the scriptures. We didn't ask for a Bible lesson.
It's as much a freedom lesson as a Bible lesson, John, as you'd know if you'd listen. All my sister Julia and I say is that liberty should be proclaimed for all the inhabitants of Glastonbury. As it is, 1/2 of the inhabitants, the men, rule over the other half, the women, who aren't put under the law.
Miss Abby, I don't believe you're talking to the point. The point is, will you or won't you pay your rise in taxes?
It's what I'm trying to tell you. All of you. We came here, Julia and I, because you raised our taxes. Ours and 2 widows. If you hadn't raised our taxes, we might never have thought about it.
About what, Miss Abby?
About how we have no voice in saying how our taxes are used. But now we've thought about it. Do we not stand on an equality with every man in this assembly before the law of God? God is a God of justice. Men and women stand alike in his sight.
Miss Abby, I didn't give you the floor to make a speech for women's suffrage. If you have anything further to say about the tax that's due, please say it.
All right, I'll say it. Miss Julia and I won't pay the rise in taxes.
That is your last word? Your very last word?
Not quite. Miss Julia and I won't pay any taxes at all. Not till we have the town.
The Smith sisters returned to their quiet white farmhouse with the dark green shutters and took up the placid routine of their daily lives. They read the Bible and studied French. They visited sick neighbors and performed farm chores. Only one thing had changed. They paid no taxes whatsoever.
You again, Mr. Andrews?
Yes, Miss Julia.
You're wasting your time.
Well, perhaps not, Miss Julia.
We'll not pay a cent until we are represented in the town council.
No, Miss Julia, don't make it hard for me.
Can't help it.
And I can't help what I've got to do today.
To do, Mr. Andrews?
Why, I've got a paper here, Miss Julia. It says you and your sister now owe $101.39 in back taxes. That includes interest.
We know that well, as you know it, Mr.
And the paper says more, Miss Julia. Says I'm to seize as many of your cows as will pay the back taxes.
Our cows? George Andrews, you know you can't take our cows.
I can, too. Says so right here on this paper.
George Andrews, those cows have been brought up with love and affection, as the good book tells us to.
What's that got to do with it?
It's lots to do with it. The town has no right to take those cows. But if it does, you mark my words.
Yes, I hear you, Miss Julia.
You mark my words, if the town takes those cows, it will be sorry, mighty sorry. Those cows know a thing or two about women's rights.
They were no ordinary cows. They answered to their names when Miss Abby or Miss Julia called. And though the tax collector could lead them away, he couldn't quite get them to desert their principles.
Dang it, Andrews, what is it now? I'm a busy man.
Well, you're the chairman, John. It's up to you to figure this one out.
Figure what one out?
These cows. The Smith sisters' cows.
Don't you think I know these are the Smith sisters' cows? I gave you the authority to seize them.
Well, you better give me some other authority, John.
What other authority? What are you talking about?
The authority to milk them. These cows have been here 2 days, and they just plain refuse to be milked.
It was true. Whatever the reason, women's rights or pure emotion, loneliness or a sense of indignation, the 7 cows of Glastonbury refused to be milked. That is, unless Miss Julia stood by and reassured them.
All right, Stacy. It's all right now, girl.
Why, she's giving milk now. Miss Julia, that does beat all.
George Andrews, my sister and I want it understood by the town council that we are letting the cows be milked for their own good. I am here under protest.
Well, I'll tell them, Miss Julia. Not that it matters.
It matters a great deal.
I'm sorry to say so, but it don't. Them cows are to be auctioned off at the signpost to the highest bidder tomorrow morning.
On the morning of January 8, 1874, a procession moved through the main street of Glastonbury, Connecticut. 7 cows walked unwillingly towards the auction block, urged forward foot by awful foot by 4 unfeeling guardians. Men, of course. And Miss Abby and Miss Julia watched, their faces grim but their spirits high. The Glastonbury cows walked reluctantly, but with dignity. Daisy was first. Then Jessie, Proxy, Minnie, Bessie, Whitey, and Lily, in that order. 2 calves, Martha Washington and Abigail Adams, had been spared the auction block.
Now, what am I offered for these fine Alderney cows? Worth $20 the head, at least. 7 times $20 is $140 for a beautiful herd. What's offered? What am I bid?
I'll give $100 for the lot, Andrews.
$100 offered. Who'll bid $125?
Mr. Andrews? Mr. Andrews?
Miss Abby, are you making a bid for these cows?
I am, Mr. Andrews, I am. I bid $400.
Miss Abby, these cows ain't worth $400, and you know it.
They're worth at least that and more than that to me.
But that's 3 times the money you wouldn't pay in taxes.
Mr. Andrews, I'll still not pay a cent in unjust taxes, but I'll spend all I have for justice.
Well, I have to warn you, Miss Abby. I'll take the cows away from me again. That's my job, to pursue them taxes till I get them.
All right, you do your job. My sister and I'll do ours.
Your job, Miss Abby? I didn't know you had one.
We all have one, George Andrews. It may seem to you that all that is to be pursued is taxes. Well, there's something else to be pursued. It's in the book of Deuteronomy. Justice. Justice shalt thou pursue.
Abby and Julia Smith pursued justice, and George Andrews, the tax collector, pursued their cows. Twice more, Daisy, Jessie, Proxy, Minnie, and their friends marched to the auction block. Twice again,
Abby Hadassah Smith and Julia Evelina Smith outbid all comers to redeem their cows.
But, Miss Abby, Miss Julia, you've spent near $1,000 getting them cows back. Ain't you ever going to stop?
Not while we live and breathe, George Andrews. And we mean for that to be a long time.
For 2 years, the Smith sisters fought the good fight. Leaders of the women's suffrage movement journeyed to Glastonbury to meet the well-known cows. Journalists interviewed the sisters, partook of cheese made of the cow's milk, admired Martha Washington and Abigail Adams, who were by then full grown, and wrote of the battle of principle being waged in the Connecticut hills. Abby was pleased with the progress of the cause, but Julia considered that more could be done.
Abby, buying the cows back is not enough.
How's that, Julia?
It's 2 years we've been asking the right to speak in the town meeting.
It's 2 years we've shown we won't be mistreated.
Not enough.
Julia, you've something in mind. What is it?
I have in mind that we should publish my translation of the Bible.
Publish it? Why publish it now? It's 20 years since you made your translation.
20 years isn't so long for a Bible translation to wait.
I suppose it's not, Julia. But what's publishing your Bible to do with our right to speak in the town meeting?
The men in town. They might more readily admit our equal right to speak if they knew what a woman can accomplish if she puts her mind to it.
Julia, I doubt they'd pay much notice.
They'd have to pay some notice to a Bible.
That's true. But where's the money to come from?
Abby Smith, I'm ashamed of you.
It's just an observation, Julia. Where is the money to come from?
Abby, if the Lord provided us with $900 to fetch back our cows, don't you suppose he'll help with 1,000 to publish a Bible?
Julia Smith's remarkable Bible, translated word by word from the original Hebrew, was published in 1876. Across the country, the case of the Glastonbury cows, already a cause célèbre, received new support as men and women read Julia's Bible. And in Glastonbury itself, the male population paused and reconsidered.
See this editorial here? It says, if Sam Adams and George Washington would not submit to this kind of taxation 100 years ago, why should Miss Abby Smith and her sister submit now?
Well, look at here. In New York, according to the paper here, some important fellow stood up to a crowd and said, Abby Smith and her cows, that's what he said, Abby Smith and her cows are marching on like John Brown's soul.
Friends, those Smith sisters, they've made Glastonbury famous. I think mayhap we'd better call a town meeting. Gentlemen and ladies, I've called this special town meeting for just one purpose. Miss Abby Smith, are you present?
I most certainly am, John.
Miss Julia Smith.
With my sister, as you can see.
Now, ladies, I have an announcement to make for the benefit of all. After due deliberation, the town has decided to give back to Miss Abby and Miss Julia the money they spent to buy their cows at auction. Andrews?
Yes, sir?
Please note the taxes on their property will be what they were before. That applies also to the land of the widow Baker and the widow Merton.
Yes, sir.
That's all I have to say.
Mr. Chairman!
Miss Abby, are you still asking the right to speak?
I am.
Go ahead, then.
Mr. Chairman, my sister and I won't say we're fully satisfied. We won't be fully satisfied until men and women are fully equal before the law. But we are gratified by your decision, and we want you to know it.
I'm glad of that, Miss Abby.
I do admit, though, that we're the least bit curious
Curious, Miss Abby, about what?
about why you've come to this decision just now.
Why, it's not so hard to understand, Miss Abby. The menfolk have been reading what the newspapers say.
Oh, that's it.
And some of us, I guess, have been reading Miss Julia's Bible. You see, there's a bit there in the book of Isaiah that sticks. Seek justice, relieve the oppressed, judge the fatherless, plead for the widow. That's a pretty good constitution for a town government.
It cannot be reported that Miss Abby Hadassah Smith or Miss Julia Evelina Smith were ever permitted to vote in the town meeting of Glastonbury, Connecticut. But the path they marched was a path towards equality, the equality under law of all of God's children. And in the archives of freedom, in the annals of liberty, let them be remembered well. The Sisters Smith, unyielding champions in the case of the 7 Glastonbury cows. If you would like a copy of today's script, please send your name and address with 10 cents to cover the cost of postage and handling to the Jewish Theological Seminary of America, 3080 Broadway, New York 27, New York. Our Eternal Light drama today, The Case of the Glastonbury Cows, was written by Mark Sequel. Featured in the cast were Abby Lewis, Virginia Payne, Parker Fennelly, Santos Ortega, and Ed Peck. The narrator, Alexander Skirby. The liturgical introduction was sung by Cantor David Putnam. This is Mel Brandt. Our program was directed by Walt Urquhart. This weekly program is presented under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. This is the NBC Radio Network.